Okay, are we starting?
What? No, well, let's just go.
Oh, we're good. All right, good. Yeah. Now, as everybody's so worried about safety of things, where before it was just like you had to have balls to like, yeah, man. Like the electronics are like hurting that a little bit. You may be afraid on the last lap to push that hard, but I'm not. Like I want to go, and that's what separates us.
If you're in a position where you're in MotoAmerica and it's like, hey boys, I'm not getting paid this year. The only way I'm coming to race your series is by having some cool on my helmet and making some videos.
I make more money off of like helmet deals because of social media than I do of racing. I bet I make more money on my helmet than most Supercross guys do.
I would bet that too.
As a Supercross guy, like if I had the reach that Supercross has, it's pretty nuts how much money you could be making with your helmet deals. I've had articles put out by a bunch of like political websites now mentioning my name and MotoAmerica in it because like, oh, should this be allowed? Should it not be? Like whatever you're gonna do, go out partying or have a wife and kids, like whatever route you like. I just hope that they allow that because that's what will really make the sport get big.
Who's the best rider out of those guys?
Ooh. Make somebody mad.
You're going to piss someone off so bad.
I met a gypsy.
I think they're fun shows because I'm just a fan.
Yeah.
I came across your content for the first time just purely like scrolling reels, like the For You page thing, just fed me. And it was the shot of you in looked like Laurel Canyon or like one of the canyon roads on the Panigale V.
Oh, so it was on a Ducati.
Okay. Yeah. And you were just backing it in, and I was like, bro, that is the sickest shit I've ever seen.
I'm glad to hear you say that then.
So that's how I come across, and so to like actually get to hang out first time doing the pod, I actually like it.
Nice. Yeah, that was, I don't know. The street stuff's where I really have fun, so I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, and it was just cool. Like I kind of went into your profile, and then I was like, oh, this dude like fully gets content, and they're the people that I kind of like to follow.
Good. Okay, are we starting?
What? No, well, let's just go.
Oh, we're good. All right, good. Yeah.
What was it? Yeah, what was that like to that journey into content? We're talking before, like you kind of were like the social media road race dude in a way for a long time.
Yeah, this is like, for me, social media is like what I really love. Like racing is fun. Obviously, I mean, I've been racing since I was a little kid, been doing it professionally for 20 years now, but Ben Boschem was an old teammate of mine. He always told me like, make sure that you understand that the content, or not even content, sorry, but like the marketing side of things is just as important as the race results, because race results aren't always going to carry you. Yeah. But if you're good at marketing and you are good with people, then that'll carry you a lot longer in your career.
Yeah.
So that was in 2008 that he told me that.
Oh, bro, that's pretty much when I started doing content stuff. Yeah.
So that was, for me,
that is great advice, dude.
Yeah. That I feel like that's done so much for me in my life, because there's been so many times where, obviously if you look at my social media, it's not like I have a tremendous amount of followers, but if you look at American road racers, I have the most.
Yep.
And I kind of like have died off recently with it, just by how much I wanted to put into it, and for some other reasons too. But I was like really big whenever it first came out. No one else was doing it. No one did any YouTube videos. No one was doing any of that stuff. So it's the social media side of things has carried my career a lot. It's helped me keep my career this long.
Yeah.
And now it's like paying off, because I feel like I'm kind of like becoming better than I was in the past.
Yep.
And if I wouldn't have had social media to get those rides for me, then I may have not have made it this far. So it's been really, really big for me. That advice like completely changed my life.
Dude, and in 2008 too. Like that's literally when I started. And I remember I bought a camera, I bought a tripod just literally on a credit card, bro. I was like fucking 21. And I still, that tripod's still over there. But yeah, I was just peddling the whole content thing. I was like, everyone is it was Vimeo back then. Like YouTube wasn't even that big. And I'm like, dude, just trust me, like Facebook videos, like you can put videos on Facebook. Everyone's on Facebook all the time. Like this is what you got to do. Yeah. And like way, way, way ahead of the curve.
And it's crazy going back and looking at stuff that you filmed, right? I'm like, whoa, this is real bad. Which even if it was a year ago, I still think that, right? I'm always trying to get better.
Yeah.
But it's nuts going back and looking at stuff. But yeah, you're like being ahead of curve. That's the biggest thing, right? It doesn't matter what it is. Like, especially in like a sport like mine where it's your own niche thing in America, it's important for me to always be going after that next step to keep me ahead of everybody else, because it seems like a lot of times people just aren't willing to like go outside the box to get better at whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I'm all about taking chances and trying things, and if it doesn't work, like, you may look like an idiot for a little while, but
Yeah.
you'll be maybe the hero for a lot longer if it works. So
It's funny, I think about that in terms of the podcast, and I like tell people that I'm like, dude, I look like a fucking loser for 3 years. And you can't get, there's some people you have to listen to their feedback, because they're like, like Jeremy Millot.
Yeah.
Just that guy's feedback. If he tells me something sucks, like, I will respect and listen to that. But if it's just like the general public or like random people, it's like, okay, you aren't seeing what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And the vision, like what you're seeing, hasn't caught up to like where I want to kind of take this thing.
Yeah.
But if you aren't willing to look like a bit of a kook for a few years, and then just like when people ask you what you do, you're like, oh yeah, I fucking have a podcast. Like there's a period where it's like kind of lame. But if you can get through that, and if you can like have enough, I guess it's just like internal belief that, okay, no, what I'm doing will actually be good. You can never get to that point. And that's why there's so many people that'll be like, oh yeah, I'm a 10-year overnight success.
Yeah, there's been a lot of times over this last year where I realized what you were saying, but I also realized like I'm done asking people what they think about things. I just do it now.
Yeah.
Because every time I ask, it just puts that thought in your head, like, oh, that my buddy, even if it's a friend, like I always ask like my best friend's advice, but they just don't see the same things I do. So I listen to what they say if they bring it up to me, but I don't ask them like, hey, what do you think of this idea anymore? I just try to do it, and it more than half the time it ends up working out. And like you said, a couple years later, they're like, oh, that was pretty cool. But on the same side of things, like my buddy will have a lot of ideas and I won't run with it, and then someone else will do that like a year later. So we just now if he says something, I do it, and if I think of something, I do it. I don't ask anybody though.
That's probably a pretty good way to go about shit.
Yeah. It's I feel like most people are always gonna shit on your ideas. They don't, deep down without knowing it, people just don't. Most of the time, they don't want other people to succeed or whatever. It wasn't their idea, so it's not cool. But yeah, I just kind of run with things now.
What was the climate like in terms of the sport in 2008? Was that when the sport was actually going pretty good here? Yeah,
so my rookie year was 2006, and it was like then, guys were getting, like I think Spies at the time was, I mean, I found old contracts from like Mladen. I didn't find, but there's guys on my teams that have found those contracts, and
they'll make some good cash.
Mladen made $7 million 1 year. Like that's really good money. I remember like salaries were higher in road racing than they were in Supercross. Like that was a thing that everybody was talking about back then, and then of course it was flipped. But what's crazy is my salary when I was 16 in 2006 it's never been higher than then. It's always just maintained, and I've made more money because of sponsors and maybe championship results or just race win bonuses. But my salary has always been 150 grand or less, and it's just nuts to me that you're 16 years old. I signed that contract when I was 15, so it's like, to me that's crazy.
Dude, take me back to that day.
I have such a bad memory. I don't really remember, but I remember just thinking, I was so just a kid that you don't think about that stuff.
Yeah.
I remember like we moved to Georgia when I was like 13, so I was going into high school, and I just didn't fit in with anybody there. And so I left school. But I remember like once I started making money racing, I'm like, I really wish I would have stayed in school, because it would have been kind of cool. Like just shutting people up.
The kids.
Yeah, which that's not what life's about. But at the same time, I'm like, man, that would have been kind of cool to just shut everybody up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The coolest thing to me when I was a kid wasn't like the factory deal when I was 16. It was my Red Bull deal. And that was when I was 17, I think. And that was through Millot.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking that was the coolest thing. Because I think around then it was like when Scheckler had his reality show, and people were kind of like outside of the industry, the action sports world, were seeing like Red Bull a lot, especially in my age group.
Yeah.
So was the cool.
How old are you?
34.
Yeah, we're like very similar in age. Yeah.
So I think that was like all time high for me when I was a kid, and then unfortunately that one of the teams that I was on, it was Yamaha. They got a monster deal, and so I lost the Red Bull deal because of that. And I remember him a lot saying, like, once you leave, you'll probably never be able to come back. But it just was, I was just forced into it. I had to do it. And
did you actually have the contract with the team? So you would have to like break the contract, or
no? But it was, I was going into my last year in like the 600 class, which is like 250 class basically for us. And they got the deal, and I was signing a new contract with them, I think, and they had to buy, they bought me out of my Red Bull contract, and but it was the best team to be on, and I knew if I didn't stay on it, like, it was just a bad idea. So it sucks.
The hand got forced.
Yeah, and people were with them forever. Like, I mean, when you're with Red Bull, as long as you're loyal to them, they're loyal to you. I remember just, Bostrom, both the Bostrom brothers were with them forever. Jake Zemke was with them forever. And I feel like I had that opportunity, and I lost it. But that'll be one I probably always will.
It'll always like sting a little bit.
Yeah.
I was literally talking to Hammer on the way here.
Really?
And then he's like, "Who's on the pod today?" I was like, "Oh yeah, Josh Herrin." He's like, "Oh yeah, I was actually worked with him like when he was younger."
Yeah, that was who I was like. My dad was doing the deal at the time, but I think I remember just harassing Jeremy all the time. I'm like, "Oh, I want it so bad, I want it." And I kept telling my dad, "Who cares about the money? Just let's do it." And at the time, which I'm glad my dad pushed for the money, but I think just being with a company like that is just.
You would have done it just for the hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, he's still one of my best friends to this day.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I remember it. Like, the coolest things were, I've never been like a big partier or like going to clubs or anything. The only time I ever do any of that.
Laguna Seca.
Yeah, like the GP after parties. And I'd be like 18 getting into all the parties, and somehow I'd end up buying a bottle of vodka at the bar for $400 and just going around pouring it in everybody's mouth, like just trying to have fun. I wasn't even drinking, but just having fun.
Yeah.
And that was just the coolest times. And anything I wanted to go do, like go fly in like the air show plane with Kirby.
Yeah.
I didn't end up doing it, but like stuff like that, like, hey, you want to do it? Or go to MotoGP and Indy, like just as a guest, like go hang out. They were always taking care of you and making you feel special. So that was a good time.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Yeah,
you see, like, I actually saw Chance Hymas. We're in the Red Bull thing at F1 the other day, and he just got his deal.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I guess you kind of know you're going to get the deal, but you don't know when you're going to get the helmet. You don't know like when it's going to get announced and everything.
Yeah.
And so I like saw him pretty much like the day he got the hat, and like right after he got the whole thing in his helmet. And just like eyes beaming. He was just like so pumped to, be there, and like Dead Mouse was playing. And it was just like, what the going on?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty cool, bro. This is your life now. Like, this is what this is like.
And I've had like some really cool sponsors, and I still do. But yeah, that's the all-time high, right? I think in action sports, everybody wanted that. And I remember just like, it was so cool. Like just being on like that bus that they have, and the dude driving the bus that just saw somebody with the sticker on the bike that shouldn't have had it, and they'd rip it off. Like, you got to be somebody to have that hat. And you're on an airplane. Like, I met Kai Lenny, the surfer, on an airplane in Hawaii one day, just because
you had the hat, he had the hat.
Yeah, and that was always like little like almost like the speakeasy. Like, you just like you see someone with a hat, you're like, all right, there's somebody. Who is it? They may be a old somebody, but it doesn't matter. Like, they did something cool in their life. So
it is so true, and they just kept it like so exclusive.
Yeah.
Like it just never went outside of that.
Yeah.
And like you can get, team merch and all that sort of stuff coming around, but like just they kept it so tight on that.
Yeah. And I've had so many sponsors that I'm like, hey, be the Red Bull. Like, you guys are going to be a huge company. Like, be the Red Bull. Don't go sponsoring everybody, because everybody gets dried up, right? That's what happens in, I think, a lot of motorsports is a company will come in, they sponsor one guy for a year, but then all of a sudden everyone's going after them. So they end up with 10 guys, and then they're only there for 2 more years, and then they're completely gone. Yeah. And I give that advice to so many companies I work with, because Red Bull has been so good at it, and it's still like that elite sponsor. Like, I mean, that's been probably, I think Hopkins was like one of the first guys that they sponsored in motorsports, and that was early 2000s or something. I think. I'm probably wrong, but at least in road racing, I think. And it's still like, if anybody gets a Red Bull deal, it's huge.
Yeah.
So
no, it definitely is. So when you like that time period, so the sport was still in a pretty good place then, and it kind of really like went into decline. It's one of the more like, I guess, fascinating stories in motorsport, because like Supercross kind of never really went through that. Like even when it had the economy go like to that 08, 09, like the races still happened. It kind of still looked
Yeah.
the same, like the series, like, I mean, a bunch of the riders weren't getting as much money, but kind of just like had the same vibe. And if you didn't know, you wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
But with the road racing, like it almost just seems like it just fully tanked, eh?
So like,
or am I wrong in saying
no,
that?
no, you're right. I mean, it went through, and we're still trying to climb out of it here.
But it
for
looks
sure.
like now it's
Yeah.
like finally on the up.
Yeah, I think, like, so it was like probably at almost the peak whenever I was like trying to get my first ride. So 2005, around there.
Yeah, you probably come in at the apex and
Yeah.
just like rode the fucking slide down.
Yeah. They always say there's two things they blame it on. They blame it on the economy in 08, and then they blame it on NASCAR buying our series. So it was Daytona Motorsports Group.
This is a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really strange because, I mean, Daytona is my favorite race. Like, it's my favorite track. I love everything about that, and I have since I was young. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say that they introduced some, like, really weird rules, and, like, we did pace car. Like, we had a pace car come on the track during yellows, and bikes were running into the back of each other because there'd be, like, I remember at Daytona, they did a full course waving yellow. So it's just like a car race. Like everybody slowed down. And I remember like someone just getting like hit from behind because in road racing, we've never had that.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to go from never doing that to all of a sudden you got to pay attention to that. Like when you're racing, you're not, that's like in Supercross when they throw those like medic flags. Sometimes you just, I don't know, you're so in the moment that you don't realize it. And then you get a penalty like that, which yeah, it is safety. So you need to, be thinking about it, but it's really hard when your adrenaline's going crazy, your heart rate's nuts. Like it's like you're in a fight. So they blame it on those two things. Like some people say, oh, they bought it just to bring it down so that motorsports was like all NASCAR. That's what a lot of, maybe you can say like conspiracy theories. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I try not to point fingers at anything. I think it's just, we need to do a better job of like finding new fans.
Yeah.
Where a lot of motorsports, they just kind of, I won't even speak for other motorsports, but road racing, they kind of like hang on to the older fans instead of worrying about the people now that are young and trying to get into the sport. And that's why I like the social media side of things with the street bike stuff, because it may not all be stuff that I think is cool, but the younger crowd's into that street riding. Yeah. Not everybody can afford to go and road race. I mean, it's a very expensive sport. And the people that would be getting into the sport are these people on social media that are riding their bikes on the street. Yep. But we kind of cater sometimes to the 45 and up, the crowd from 2005. Yeah. That are, a lot of them are like dying off now. So it's like we need to focus on the young crowd. Yeah. So that's why I like the social media thing, because I want to bring those fans in. And maybe they're street squids that road race people don't like, but that's the future of our sport.
There is some street squids, eh? It's that's like the funny that you like have like a name for that. We're at this like this pizza place in Dana Point, and this guy just comes up and he's on, I don't know what bike he was on, but he's like, when the road kind of like goes down and then you've got like the big gutter there. Yeah. So he like parks his bike against it and he gets off, and this is like it's like a pizza place in Dana Point. It's like really nice place. It's hard to get into there, right? And so we're waiting for our reservation to like get seated, and this guy like walks up and he's like he was wearing like leather pants and like a fucking Alpine Stars like vest with like no shirt on underneath it. And then he's like, "Whoa, I want to eat." And then he like called some dude a like, and then the best part is, bro, he gets on his bike, one, and then he like couldn't lift it, like he couldn't pull his bike back with it. It was the best, bro. I was like, you are everything that's wrong right now.
It's hard. My wife worked for Suzuki, and she was in the moto scene for a really long time, and I'm embarrassed sometimes because she like grew up in that, and then she comes to road racing, and I'm like, this is why. Like I see stuff like that. And I was just like, I don't know if I like watching Supercross and I like riding dirt bikes, but I'm not like, I'm always afraid to get hurt, so I don't ride them anymore. Yeah. But like I love just going out and riding my dirt bike. Like we were young, we moved to Georgia so that my dad could buy property, and we had a flat track, and then I had a little dirt bike track in the middle, and I used to go to my Bobcat and like build mini tracks and stuff. But when I saw road racers always getting hurt and puncturing a lung or breaking a collarbone, I'm like, if I want a long career, like I don't want to be doing this. And I know that sounds chicken shit, but I just want to. That's my way to make money.
Yeah.
But I don't really like understand. I don't know what group of guys is like that in your world. But yeah, the street guys, now they're getting cooler, I think, a little bit because of social media. Like they see how you should be, maybe, or they see what's cool, so they try to be like that. Where most of the time, it's just like there is a lot of strange people, like, and
it's weird. Hey?
Like they're all nice, like the same. I'm sure if you go to like the track, right there, it's like family. I mean, road racing is such a family; they all help each other out. But there's some guys that just really ruin it. Like, we're trying to grow and get bigger again, and you're that guy. Like, like everybody likes a bike that sounds good, but don't go like and rev it.
Like, what?
When I see those guys, I'm like just egging them on. I'm like, yeah, go, like blow that thing up. Like, but yeah, sometimes I feel that same way.
It's funny though. Like I remember the first time I used to work for a bike shop. And I was like 17 or whatever. And it was a Kawasaki dealership. And I remember I had to put away an R1. Like we had like all the used bikes out the front. And I fucking rode the thing up the street. I was doing like 160 Ks an hour in first gear. And I turned and I'm like, there's no way the people that are coming in to buy this bike should be allowed to buy this bike. Like this is a weapon. Like literally a lethal weapon.
Yeah.
So I think that there's... Oh man,
but look at dirt bikes. Like I think that, but then like
that's true too.
These guys go jump like that. To me, like I belong on the ground. I feel more comfortable jumping my super bike than I do. I don't. That's not true. I mean, like I'll go do jumps, but
I know what you're saying. I'm the same.
I'm like, dude, these Supercross guys doing triples. I'm like, this is fucking nuts. Like, what are these guys thinking? But then like I'll go, road race. Like I've ridden on the track. Like with Barsha, and like it's nuts. Like listening to what he says when he comes in off of a mini bike, not even like a full size bike. Like he's like, oh, the G forces when you're braking, like all that pressure. I'm like, it's nuts hearing them think about it. And every other athlete you meet, they think you're crazy. That's like the coolest thing about action sports to me.
Yeah,
they all think everybody else is nuts, unless there's just like that one super crazy guy that'll just do anything, like a Pastrana, like he doesn't care. But most sports, they all think the other guy is the crazy one. But like. I do think that way sometimes. Like I see guys get on a 1000. I'm like, you have no business being on this bike.
And just talking to that guy, because I was like working sales, and I'm talking to him. I'm like, you're a kook.
Yeah.
Like just walking around, like you don't have what it takes to ride this motorcycle.
Can you not tell by looking at somebody?
For
like
sure,
just
bro.
The way that I always say, like the way someone puts their helmet on, I can tell like if you're gonna be good or not.
Yeah.
Like, I may not be able to tell the difference between, like, pros putting their helmets on, but a guy that can ride a bike good versus a guy that's, like, really sketchy, just the way he puts his helmet on.
Just like, general moving around, coordination. I'm like, dude, I know a bunch of people that are, like, good at this, and, like, you're just not going to be one. You're not going to be one of them. I hate the stereotype. Yeah. But I think, like, maybe that's part of the thing where the guy gets on the bike and all they can do, because they can't actually ride it, and, like, this guy, he had to get up and it was the funniest shit ever because just for 5 seconds he was the man. And like I'm even thinking, I'm like, am I gonna have to like do something to this guy? Like the way that he was acting, and then he just went from like that to just looking like the biggest kook. Like couldn't even get his butt. And then he's on it on his tippy toes, like, and my wife is fucking pissing herself laughing directly in front of this guy, and I'm like, now I'm going to have to deal with this guy because he's going to be pissed off that you're laughing at him. But then when he rode off, he's like, I'm like, dude, you should not act like that if that is how you are riding this motorcycle.
It's weird how a lot of street people think they're cool when they're the only one around.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, they think I'm cool on my bike. Like they must have seen too many movies growing up. Like, I don't know what the movies were, but dude, I remember.
I was just thinking, like, there's not really many like cool street bike movies. Like, think about Tokyo or like the Fast and Furious, Tokyo Drift.
What was the one? My buddy Tyson Beckford was in it. It was like back then it was cool, like Bike Night or
Yeah, but see, I
I forget what it was. It was like some old movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen that though. Like, there's nothing that's like everyone's seen. Like everyone's seen.
Just like Mission Impossible or something like that. They always seem to have them in there. But
yeah,
I think back in the day they used to use street bikes in a lot of movies, and it actually works. I think for getting people to buy bikes. Like I don't know what they think when they see it, but I think that does translate into bike sales somehow. I don't know, because I guess if they see it in the movies, they think it's cool, and then thousands of people buy it, and then their friends buy it. And now, you don't really see that as much. It doesn't seem like, but Ducati seems to be like they did Chips, my Dax Shepard's movie Chips 2. They had a lot of bikes in that, a lot of Ducatis. Like I think Ducati tries to get in. Yeah. Or a lot of people like just using Ducatis because
I just want a Ducati in my garage.
Yeah.
Like I did an ambassador thing with Ducati in Australia, and it was 2 years, and it was just like the coolest.
Yeah.
Because I just always had a fucking Ducati in my garage, and I got to do first time I ever did track days, first time I ever like really rode like street bikes.
Yep.
And dude, it just the coolness, and like it's the Ferrari of two wheels. Like realistically, you know, the sound of the dry clutch. Yeah. Always get them like it has to be dry because all the other ones are wet.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the sound of the clutch, and it's just got an aura around it. You know, I think Ducatis definitely would be responsible for so many of, I guess, just like general interest in bikes, because they almost like transcend. It's like more than a bike in a way, you know.
So my first year with Ducati was in 22.
Yeah.
And all before that, you know, I think I didn't just hate on Ducati, but I just didn't see it. Yeah. And then I started riding the Ducati, and I started seeing like how people, you know, you're just the story went from, oh, you race motorcycles, you know. I'm sure you've heard it before, but in street bikes, it's like, oh, you jump? You do the jumps? I'm like, no. Like, I do this street bikes, like we turn, oh, you put your knee on the ground. Yeah, I'm like, actually, now people put their shoulders on the ground. Like, not me, but some guys. And, but now it's like when they say, oh, what bike do you ride? You know, before you could say, I ride an R1, like, oh, it just goes in one ear out the other. But, oh, I race a Ducati. They're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
And to me, the coolest thing in a long time has been when I signed with Ducati, and I can tell people that don't know anything about our sport that I ride a Ducati, and then they're interested just because they hear Ducati.
Yeah.
Like the brand, the way that they've built the brand to make people just attracted to it is so insane to me. And now going to like dealer meetings sometimes, like, you know, in Spain or Italy, like just listening to the way they talk to the dealers and tell them like it's all about the experience, and just seeing how they built the brand, it's pretty nuts to me that, I mean, they are who they are without even having to race or anything. People just like the way the image that they are. I don't know.
Oh, it's so true. When I was working with them, I would go and do track days. Like they rent out Phillip Island, and it's just for people that own Ducatis. Yeah. And some of the people that you would meet, bro, crazy.
Yeah.
Just these like mega wealthy business dudes that would have like these $100,000-$200,000 Ducatis, and they're sending them around Phillip Island. Like there's just such a cool culture around the people that own them. And I imagine that's what it's like if you own a Ferrari or a Porsche, or, you know, like it kind of comes with, you're buying the bike, but then you're buying the whole thing. You're buying the aura, you're buying the community, you're buying into the brand.
Yeah. It's going in, so they call them the DRE days or Ducati Revs. Like the DRE ones are where it's like only Ducati owners and stuff. And it's cool because a guy, Jay Root, that works at Ducati, he has gotten me now going to a lot of the dealers. Like it used to be before where I would be like forced to go to some dealers and do events. Like they do like signings before a race, right? Now it's like, hey, this dealer is going to pay you. You come out and do your thing. And I just hang out with them. So I get to meet a lot of like, you know, number one customer of whatever in Oregon or whatever. So it's crazy how much money they spend, and they just collect. Like they'll go ride them, but they just buy like, you know, the Superleggera just to like have it. And it's a collector thing. Like tonight at Ducati Newport, there's a Supreme unveiling. So like there's like a Supreme party for like a special edition, you know, Supreme bike with jacket and helmet and stuff. And it's like a cool party. Like no other brands do stuff like that. So that's why they are as special as they are, because they get it. And yeah, it makes them what they are. So
Yeah, no, it is sick, man. Some of the dudes had like these full Troy Bayliss
Yeah.
like fucking super bikes that he raced, and they're like buying these. It was mind blowing,
Yeah.
dude. Like absolutely mind
Dude,
blowing.
people buy our race bike like when we're done with them for like $250,000, and then they have to hire like a Ducati guy. Like my crew chief needs to go and work on their bike. Like to me, and they're just going and ripping it at a track day. I'm like, that is insane. Like I mean, not nowadays. It's not a house, but that's a house.
It
Like,
used to be a house.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like, and you just go and crash it, and you're just like, oh well. Like it is sick though. Like it's cool meeting those guys
Yeah.
and I like going. That's why I like coaching, is because I get to go coach these guys for a day and hang out with them. Like not everybody can afford to pay someone $2,000 to just go hang out and help them ride a little bit better.
Yeah.
And you get to hear really cool stories. Like it's almost like sitting and doing podcasts with somebody. Like that guy, the stories of how these guys got successful. Like you learn a lot, so it's fun.
That is sick.
Yeah.
Have you you've mentioned Dax before? Have you got to ride with him?
Yeah, it's cool. Like motorcycling, like I used to try not to talk about it a whole lot because I didn't want people thinking I'm like would meet someone
Name
and
dropping.
Yeah. But now that I'm getting a little bit older, like I'm not like embarrassed to talk about it more because it is cool. Like
Well, it's cool for our sport.
Yeah.
Like to know that those people, like Keanu Reeves owns a fucking motorcycle company.
Yeah.
Like we should be very excited about that as motorcycle fans.
Yeah. And I see the importance of it, but like the name dropping thing is weird sometimes. Like some people you could tell they want to do it, but the lowest point in my career, I just happened to meet these guys at a track day, and I like had no money at the time, and they just invited me to come out and just hang out with them one day, and then it turned into like, oh, I'm gonna live on their couch, and it was that group of people have been like one of them officiated my wedding. Like it's they're really amazing people, but they're all involved in the movie industry with stunt stuff or with like training the actors and stuff. So that group was real tight with Channing Tatum, who's become a good friend, Dax Shepard, who's become a good friend, and then we end up going to track days, or like not track days, but just our own private things.
Yeah.
And one day it's like Channing Tatum, Dax Shepard, Keanu Reeves, Brad Pitt, and I'm just like, whoa, like what is going on? Like motorcycles brought me here, and that's what I was gonna say earlier. Is like I was embarrassed to talk about it. Like if people brought it up, or if they came to a race, obviously people saw, but we grew up, we still watch movies. Like I love going to the movie theaters. I wouldn't say I'm like a super weird fan of these guys, but they're actors. Like everybody in the world likes watching movies.
Yeah.
So for a while, I kind of didn't talk about it unless someone would bring it up. But now lately, I'm just like, it is what it is. Like that is cool. Like Channing Tatum is a really good friend of mine, and I consider him a great human being, and he's done a lot for me. Like when I was at a really low spot, was like paying for a lot of stuff for me and letting me use his gym and letting me use his hyperbaric chamber to get better. It was awesome. Like before, like I remember one time before, what are the ketones? Is that what everybody's taking now? You know what that is? Like the little drink.
Yeah.
Like before it got big, like I remember he like spent like $1,000 to get us like to try it, and like he's like, just go try this on the track, like because he was super into it and thought it was cool the same way that I think it's cool that he's an actor. Like I think that's neat.
Yeah. Well, there's such like a level of respect that they would have for you because they're trying to do what you can do at the very highest level.
Yeah.
And they're like down here in terms of the level that they can operate a motorcycle.
Yeah.
But they want to be up here and you're up there. And there is just a genuine level of like respect that you have for that person. Like if I do jiu-jitsu with like a fucking world champion, I'm like, bro, what you can do is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Every time I go watch the guys ride Supercross, like I go to the test track with AC. The dude is literally about to retire. It's his last day ever at the test track. And he's like, I fucking suck. I'm done. And I'm standing there like, dude, this is actually insane what you can do. So like there's such a genuine level of respect that you have for people who can do something that you would just give anything to be able to do, like that's a fucking cool thing to share with a person.
Yeah. It's I've always thought that way. I think exactly how you said it, but some people are just haters and I don't know.
Yeah. Fuck those guys.
Yeah. But it is cool, and it's cool seeing them like really enjoy something that I've done my whole life. Like, and it is such a cool sport. That's why I don't really understand why it's taken so long for it to kind of get back on its feet. Because the second I meet anybody, if I just met someone and they've never watched it, but then they watch one race, they love it. Especially if you meet the guy that's doing it, you know.
For
like,
sure.
I've been lucky enough, you know, because of actually right over here, Joe Cancelleri, who's a trainer over here. I met him through the W, but now he's gone, you know, work with a bunch of different people. Through his gym, like I met Freddie Spencer, who's a, you know, one of the best baseball players in history, and a bunch of other athletes, and it's the same way. Like, I mean, I grew up loving baseball, so getting to meet Freddie Freeman and did I just say Freddie Spencer?
Yeah.
I said Freddie Spencer. Freddie Freeman. It's like, it's so cool to me. Like I grew up, I would much have rather played baseball than racing. Like I just grew up a baseball kid. So like motorcycles bring me to meet all these awesome people that love this sport. And I want to see people really enjoy it as much as I do. And getting back to what I was saying is like, you meet someone like Freddie, and then I went from already being a huge Dodger fan and baseball fan to then
100%.
I'm obsessed with it because even if I only meet the guy once, if he was nice enough to just have a real conversation with you, you feel like you're a part of their journey. The same way if you watch you on YouTube, right? Like people see your stuff, you interact with them, and they just feel like you're their buddy. And I don't know. I really don't understand what's so difficult about the road racing stuff. Sometimes I think it's people like you talk about at the pizza place, which every sport has it, but it seems like we have a lot of them.
Go watch UFC at Buffalo Wild Wings. Like,
true.
Every sport has that. You know what I mean? So like, you can't get away with it. Or you can't get away from it. But I think, I mean, it's one of the things that I'm like extremely passionate about with this podcast is I always have thought along the same lines that you're thinking now, right? Like if you know, like there's such a general population that just isn't aware of road racing.
Yeah.
But there is a massive population that is aware of Channing Tatum and Magic Mike and 21 Jump Street.
Yeah.
And it's like to then have the association of like, oh, this guy with all of his money and all of his things that he gets from that wants to do this.
And pays to do it.
Yeah.
Doesn't ask for free stuff. He just
there must be something there.
Yeah.
Like what is it? What's there?
Yeah.
And I think that I think there's like the hardcore fans in the whole F1 world where they're like, we don't need the celebrity shit. It's like, yeah, because you're already a fan, brother.
Yeah.
I've been an F1 fan since before I could even remember. Why? Because every single race my dad had on the television.
Yeah.
So it's like, I never knew a world where Formula One wasn't a thing that we watched 20 times a year.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like that for everybody. So there's new people that they'll see Gigi Hadid at a F1 race and they're now a massive fan. Like, it's not cool to you, but to a lot of other people, you're giving these people a reason to watch this sport by these so-called like celebrity endorsements, you know? And it's like one of the things with me, I'm like, I want to bring as many people from outside the world that we're in to just share their passion, share their love for the sport, because like that is the thing that's contagious and that's what does bring people in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think 100% the same way that you're saying, you know, it's important to keep stuff like that going. And that's why I tell a lot of other riders that too, like just be open with people about what you do. Like a lot of them are very closed off. They don't like to talk about it away from the track, but you know, you have to do that to get new people in. If you're not out there pushing the sport, then nobody's going to hear about it. Yeah. But yeah, the celebrity side of things, I see it 100%. So yeah.
Who's the best rider out of those guys?
Ooh, make somebody mad.
You're going to piss someone off so bad.
For sure. Chan and Dax are like the best of the two that I've rode with. Yeah. And it's funny seeing like
the rivalry.
Because they're both actors and they're a lot of times in the same kind of movies. So it's like, I think especially Dax like wants to be better than Chan, but they're very close. I don't remember. I haven't rode with them on track in a little while, so I don't know like lap times or anything. But it was funny always like hearing them talk about each other whenever we're at a track day.
They're like, "What's he doing through there? What's he doing through there? Do you know what lap time he got?"
Yeah.
That's sick. I mean, that's the fucking beauty of it, dude. Yeah. That's why we love this shit. You know, like anyone can relate to that.
Yeah, it was cool. Like one of the coolest things was I did the World Superbike race at Laguna.
Yeah.
So it was like MotoAmerica.
When was that?
2018.
Okay.
Yeah. So
was that the last year?
No, 19. I think 19 was.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was so hard. Like going from because we had 2 races in MotoAmerica and then 2 races in World Superbike. So I was like practice, back-to-back practices, back-to-back qualifyings, back-to-back races. So it was like a lot for me. But I remember that weekend it was I always forget his last name, but it was from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Dude, I don't
the main guy from oh my gosh,
I don't even watch TV
Robert
ever.
something. I don't know, but it was him, Dax, and Chan, and they all came out to the grid and like just hung out. Chan and Dax held the umbrella, and then like one time at Coda, I won at Coda. I was on the Yosh Suzuki bike, and I just like pulled off to the side of the track after I won because I saw my buddy Steve, and then Chan was standing with him, and Chan just got on the back of the bike and like rode in on the back with no helmet, no nothing. And I remember that's huge. Like that was all over the internet. He posted it on his page. Like it was huge for our sport, I think. And people just sometimes don't understand, like you're saying, like a celebrity being involved. Like he likes it enough that he was doing that. He didn't do that for me. I think he did it because he was actually stoked to be involved
because
with
he's just a real dude that has real friends and has real excitement for his real friend.
Yeah.
Like
it was so cool.
It ain't that deep. Like the guy is just like doing what he wants to do. But as a result, like it is massive for the sport. Like there's just other things attached to it, you know?
Yeah. I I used to love going to the knot hole and during Supercross and stuff. Do you remember when it was called that? The Knot Hole Club at A1?
Oh, is that
I don't know what it's called now, but it's like...
Yeah, I know. Is it up near like where the spa and shit, or that big rock pool thing?
Yeah, it might just be like a monster thing now. I'm not really sure. But I remember like you would just always see celebrities in there, and it's like...
But no one ever knew.
They would like bring them up on the, to do interviews every now and then, like stuff like that. I remember one time I got to do an interview in there. It was, I forget the guy's name that did the interviews, but it was me and that Audrina Partridge. Do you remember her?
Yes, she was with Corey Bowen.
Yeah, I don't know. She was on the Laguna Beach show or something. I thought it was so cool. I'm like, oh, I got to interview with her. But I remember always seeing celebrities in there, and like for me, being a fan of Supercross and then seeing celebrities there liking the race, it just makes the whole thing cooler.
Yeah,
it just makes the world go round. Like I don't know.
No.
Look at they have magazines just based on what celebrities do. So if they're at our event, like I was in a People magazine. It was like a photo of Dax and me at the race, and like I was like, dude, this is huge. Like that's what we need to be trying to do is bringing these people in, not asking them to do anything for the sport. Like the series should be like, hey, we're gonna invite you out. You don't got to do nothing. Just hang out. Yeah. And if they like it and they post about it, sweet. A lot of the series, I think, I'm not gonna just say anything about MotoAmerica. Like I think everybody learns as they go, but it's like they see people come in and then they want them to like, they're expected to do something.
Yeah.
But, the smart companies are the ones that like send out care packages to people for Christmas. And then they're just like, dude, that was sick. Like, whatever. Red Bull sent me this care package with their new drinks. Like, and then you post about it or whatever, like, because they just maybe are a fan of it. So, yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah, I think I definitely, I don't know what it's like for MotoAmerica. I feel like MotoAmerica is definitely on the up. Yeah. Like I'm seeing way more of it. And you're the dude that brought me back into that, it would have been 2022 when you just signed with Ducati and you started those clips. Like it got me back in. I'm like, oh, this is like a MotoAmerica guy,
Sick.
So, and Sensode because he loves that.
Yeah.
But it's like, it does seem like it's on the up. But I know obviously we're like a lot deeper in the Supercross world. Like it is definitely on the up.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's just in general coming back.
I would like to think so. I love seeing any motorcycle sport get bigger. So I'm a fan of Supercross, but you do at times as a racer, you get jealous, right? I think if they said that they didn't, they'd be lying. Like, I'm like, man, this used to be bigger. Like you see these guys buying Rolls Royces, like all this stuff. You're like, dude, guys that were not as good as me 20 years ago were making more money than these guys are now. It's like I get so like heated inside. So that's why but it's not like taken away from what I think of those guys at all. But I just see like what our sport was and where it is right now. But I want to be there when it gets back to there because I do.
Well,
I
and
100%
you're a part
think
of it getting back there.
I hope like I do like I like get fueled by that. Like when people will come up, like that's so cool to me that you are willing to admit that you saw something and maybe it did help get you into it. Because there's a lot of people
100%.
that they don't want to admit that. Like maybe it's they're like embarrassed to say it or whatever. Like it's just like if you buy a product because somebody like I buy a product because like if this guy posted about it, I'm gonna go tell that company that I bought it because of him. Because if I know that if I don't, that company might not keep sponsoring because they don't understand the return. Nobody tells them or they don't directly see that somebody bought a Manscaped because of you and saw it on your page, whatever. So I always try to like let the series or let the sponsor know like I did this because of them.
Yeah.
So when people come up to me or just tell MotoAmerica that, hey, I'm a fan of the sport because of Herrin, like that to me is really cool. And I just hope, obviously there's this selfish side of me that wants to grow and make more money and be bigger.
Yeah. I'll stop you right there.
Yeah.
I know where you're going with it. That is incentives being aligned properly.
Yeah.
Right? So like you should selfishly want the sport to grow because it will help you.
Yeah.
Like that's just aligning things correctly. Everybody should be incentivized like that.
Yeah.
Like you put in this effort and then it becomes like a very genuine way to think about personal growth.
Yeah.
And it's selfish, but it's not. And you kind of want to gear your life. Like I'm quite passionate about this. Like you really want to gear your life to where you focusing on something else improving makes you improve.
Yeah.
And I think that it's like completely, there's like
it's a win-win.
Yeah. And there's a way that you can think about that could maybe feel weird, but it's like, dude, that's fully the right attitude.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm going to pour a bunch of effort into this. And if I do this right, it will actually grow me and grow my things that I'm like looking to achieve just by a consequence of doing that.
Yeah.
There's so many people have it backwards.
Yeah.
Where they're just like, it's very, very me focused and it becomes like this zero sum game where it's like, for me to improve, somebody else has to go backwards or there's like a finite amount of money in the industry. So I've just got to get as much of it as I can. And by me getting that money, everybody else gets less. Like that is such an attitude.
Bad karma.
Well, and it's like, it's pretty deep in the industry at time and in like a bunch of industries. And it's like, wrong way to think about it.
Yeah.
Grow the sport, grow the pie, everybody wins.
You know who, like the people that I look out for the most or try to steer clear of are the ones that are like, I'm trying to think of the way that they say it, but they say like, I'm doing it for the sport. Like people who say that, I'm like, yeah, you're 100%. You're the guy that just wants to make as much money as you can, and then you're gonna go to the next thing.
Yeah.
I always, and I don't think, I don't know. You could just tell when you meet somebody, right? Like, of course, like you're saying, the selfish side of me, I love making more money. I want to support my family. I want to do things I like.
Yeah.
But I get way more like positive vibes when I hear someone just saying like, "Oh, I went to the race because of you." Like that to me is like I'm securing the future or helping a little bit with like these kids that their parents put everything into to try to make, whatever work for them. Like it's cool to think that could be because of me a little bit. And that's at the end of the day, I would rather be known for, that kind of thing, like showing people that outside industry sponsors are willing to come in and give money and show them like, look, I made money from this company you would have never thought.
Yeah.
I like that more than, or just as much as making money from them. Like, and those are the things that drive me, I guess, to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as well, like you don't have control over when you come into a sport.
Yeah.
Like look at Jet, just killing it.
Yeah.
He just like rolled on in, fucking most talented rider that has maybe ever lived when the sport is incredibly healthy, getting huge TV deals, like massive Red Bull sponsor, like even the way that the teams open up and the riders that are contracted and, like there's just so much luck that goes into the timing of like when you are an athlete. It's the same in any industry. And it's like, I just think that, your timing when you come into this, like you just were unlucky to catch the down. But on the flip side of that, you're a guy that can have like a massive role on the sport coming back up too, you know? So it's like, it's just the luck of the draw. And it definitely takes a lot of effort to be a guy like you that, I mean, even before when we were having coffee, like just some of the effort that you had to put in to, you know, pay these filmers and just do all of the shit that you had to do to like be the guy that's like trying to kind of grow. Like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to do that. Most athletes just want to be athletes. They want to get a check. They don't want to have to go to a dealer site. They don't want to do shit.
Yep.
And it's like, that's all right. But you ain't going to be the guy growing the sport. And it is what it is.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that now. Like it's you know, we right now as road racers have to put in the work to grow our sport. Like it's not going to just happen. And we have this, I mean, you see that like social media is huge. I mean, I chat, I know I've watched a lot of the clips like I talked about before. I don't have the attention span a lot of times to listen to a full podcast, but I like the clips that I see of yours. But I was just like trying to put myself in your shoes today. I'm like, all right, I don't know if he knows anything about me. I'm like, I wonder if he like chat GPT'd any questions to ask me. Or so I'm like, I just like chat GPT'd Gypsy Tales to see what would come up. I'm just interested. Maybe it has something that I didn't even know that maybe the normal fan wouldn't even know. And it was saying like something like you've reached like 20 million viewers this year or something on YouTube only. And I'm like, 20 million people, you know, and you're 90% talking about Supercross. So it's like stuff like that is huge for your sport. And
I think we got like, I got the email from YouTube the other day. We got 40 million likes.
Oh, wow. So yeah, you're way over 20 million viewers.
On one of our channels. I was like, oh.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, so even way bigger than that.
Yeah, like
but it is. Even 20 million people like on YouTube is huge.
It's insane. Yeah.
And like riders, there's like, oh, I don't like social media. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter if you don't like it. Like just the series should be making it to where you have to post once a week. Like, hey, we're going to this race next. Like people wonder like, oh, why aren't there as many spectators? Like, well, let's see. If you added up like all the people that we could all reach, if we all made like one kind of cool post, we could reach a couple million people. Let's just say 1 million people in the United States. But you guys don't post and you don't care to post. You don't care to grow. And you're like, I don't like social media. It's like, okay, don't use it then. Like, just use it for work. It's my job.
Yeah.
My personal Facebook page, I probably haven't posted on in 5 years. Like, I don't know. I only have it to like, I thought I would just have a personal one just so my family could see things I was doing, but I don't care about that. Like my friends, I don't care if they see me doing things or not. Like,
yeah, that's what I have group text for.
Yeah.
I text my friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, this is a business. It's not about like if you want to do it or not. It's like, this is going to help you. Like, I make more money off of like helmet deals because of social media than I do of racing. So it's like, and we're in a small sport compared to a Supercross. And I bet my helmet deal, I make more money on my helmet than most Supercross guys do.
I would bet that too.
Like, it's crazy how much money is there and people just don't, like, they just don't want to put in. A lot of times too, like somebody gets like a factory ride and they're like, oh, I'm getting a good check from whatever. But it's like, you could almost be making, as a Supercross guy, like if I had the reach that Supercross has, it's pretty nuts how much money you could be making with your helmet deals and social media and stuff like that they just probably or less don't really care because they're making pretty good money if they're on a good team. But when you don't have that factory ride for 1 year and then your helmet saves you, then you're pretty stoked that you put in that time, or you're pretty stoked that, you know, the year that I had to ride for no salary and I only had helmet sponsor stuff or my gear, and then social media deals, like that kept me paying all my bills and kept me happy. But the guys that don't want to put in that work, you know, you're not only are you hurting the series because you could be promoting more, but you're also hurting yourself and how much money you can make or the people you might meet because of deals you get or whatever. So that, dude, social media is huge and people just don't want to put in the effort. And to me, it drives me nuts.
So what year was that you had to go through that? Like, that's really cool to know that you can lose a ride and just still go racing.
Oh yeah.
Basically because of all of the and it's relationships.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is. Like, remove the word sponsorship, it's relationships.
Yeah.
You just have relationships with these people that are willing to invest in you.
Yeah. And I would say I'm pretty bad at like on the relationship side, if I'm being honest, because I'm not fake. I don't think I'm fake at all. Like if I don't like somebody, I'm not going to go be fake just to get a deal from them or
yeah. But
whatever,
I mean, there's like way different that business relation. I'm not friends with everyone I do business with.
Yeah.
You know, like, but I have a working relationship that is like a good relationship, you know?
Yeah. But I think, I don't know, I'm kind of like, scatterbrained right now thinking about it, but it's, relationships are super important in the industry, but there's a lot of times where I see other people like they're doing it wrong. Like the relationship side, they take a little too far sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It goes past business and it just gets like way too personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of lost train of thought there.
No, that's all good. So that year though, like it literally just come down to where you.
Oh yeah. So yeah, like there's been numerous times, like 2020 was one of those years where like I had to ride for a team and they didn't have the money to pay me. And I'm like, all right, like I just got to make it work somewhere else. Like, and those are the years that really make you grind for helmet deals, right? And that happens a lot in road racing. Like I think maybe three times probably where I've had to just have no salary, but they do whatever they can. But you also know, like, all right, this is just some guy that loves the sport and he's trying his hardest to get sponsors and he might not be able to make it work. But, I just grind to do other things. I go coach or I do the helmet deals or I do social media, like whatever. Like you just always have to grind through it. The same way people do in real life. Like we're super lucky to get to do what we do, but you sometimes got to remember this is a job and you got to like prepare yourself for the future. If something bad happens, I need to make sure I can pay my mortgage or whatever. And social media is, even though, like I said, like on Instagram, I have 230,000 followers, which if you think about it is a lot of people, but compared to other sports or celebrities, it's nothing. But that's still, imagine if you had, like nowadays, right? People are angry if they don't get over 1,000 likes. They're like, a lot of them will hide the likes or whatever. It's like, imagine if you had 1,000 people come into your store that day.
Yeah, just give you a high five.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, think of it like that sometimes. Like people just get so depressed if like, oh, it's not working. My posts suck. I'm shadow banned. I'm this. But like, dude, 1,000 people liked your stuff and you could go out and like reach out to those 1,000 people and sell them a product that you have or whatever. Like it's just such a monster machine that can just, it's kept me way ahead of the game in my sport. And I'll forever be grateful for it. So yeah, I just wish people thought about it more because it would help.
I also think too, you could probably speak to this, but the whole follower thing just doesn't matter as much these days. Like I think we have on the Gypsy Tales Instagram, I think we have 160,000 followers, but we reach 4 million accounts every month.
Yeah.
And we get like 15 million views.
Not everybody wants to. That's another thing like with social media now is like.
Well, it's all about the algorithms and like the way you get served content. Like you get given content based on what you're interested in, not on what you follow.
Yeah.
So you don't have to follow anything on Instagram now
just
to see the content. Like I didn't follow you, but I saw your content.
Yeah.
And then I did follow you eventually because I'm like actually fully interested. But it's like you can still promote, like to your point about MotoAmerica, like the riders could be like, oh, we're back at Laguna Seca for the first time ever. This, first time since 2019. People are going to see that whether they follow that person or not. You know?
Yeah. And it's like the way I started, kind of looking at it was, I don't know why I'm losing my thought right now. I like get so into what you're saying, I forget what I'm going to say. But yeah, dang, I don't know if the coffee's messed me up. I feel like I'm messing your podcast up now,
No,
but I keep having a thought and losing it. Remind me again what we're...
Just like that you don't, the amount of followers that you have doesn't really matter. Like,
that's what I was going to say. Okay.
Yeah.
So like nowadays, like with social media, we're so overloaded with content and that same person, right? Like I may be like, so let's just say we're best friends, but you post every day. Like how quick are you going to get over that person? Right? Like you see it now, like you can mute people now and there's a reason for that because it just gets to where you're like, I love hanging out with this guy. I love him, but I see him every day. And I see him 10 times on his stories, all this stuff. So you end up unfollowing people and it's not because you don't like them. It's not because I don't like that content. My friends are all going to still share that stuff with me and I'm going to see it flowing through and people get so weirded out about the followers. But yeah, right. You may have a reel that reaches 15 million people or something, but you only get, maybe, I don't know, 100 people that follow you because of that reel. Yeah, your stuff's going to get pushed out. And like people complain about the algorithm and I like how it was when it first started, but it's also great how it is now because look at the growth that some people get. You post one reel and it gets whatever 50 million views, and then all of a sudden you have 150,000 followers because of a reel. Where back before it was like almost like social media was like you still had to be somebody to get popular on social media. Like when I say be somebody, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like you had to be an actor, an athlete, a news anchor, something in order to get followers. Now you could post one video. I could go make a fake account and put on all black gear, go do a sick video, and you're going to start getting followers like instantly. It's like a free billboard all the time. Like, hey, what do you want to put on the billboard today? Like, oh, I feel like being a golfer. I'm going to start doing golf content, make a new golf page, and then all of a sudden 1 million people saw that reel, and now what do you know? I got a golf brand now. Yep. It's nuts how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to make good content.
Yeah.
And the thing I think a lot of people don't understand, especially like racers and riders, is that it's like literally just about good content.
Yeah.
You make good content, it's going to get shown to people because you're in business with Instagram.
Yeah.
Like Instagram or YouTube, they want people to watch their videos.
Yeah.
And their videos are your videos.
Yeah.
So you just have to make really good videos. They go, this is a good video.
Yeah.
And then they send it to all the people that might be interested in that video.
Yeah.
Like it's really not that hard.
And the longer people are watching their videos, the more money they're making. So yeah. It's crazy to me when people are like, oh, like Instagram's doing this to my account or this. Like, no, your content is just not that
good.
Yeah.
People just aren't that interested.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, just improve. Like, do some research. Like, you saw what didn't work on your stuff. Or like what kills me is like if somebody has a post, like for me, this is a good way to get into this. Is like this, you said you saw my stuff because of the street content. I didn't ride a street, like on the street until like, I don't know, maybe like 7 years ago or something. Every teammate I've ever had, me, every autograph signing when we're talking to fans, like, what bike do you ride on the street? Like, oh, we don't ride bikes on the street. It's too dangerous.
You crazy, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, dude, like Supercross riders, NASCAR drivers, like our job is to like win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Like that's like been the thing for a long time. So if we're telling these guys that we're not riding on the street, then obviously they're not going to go and they're going to be like, well, maybe it's too dangerous. I shouldn't ride because they're better than me and they're scared of the street. Maybe I shouldn't do it. So I think for a long time that hurt them. But
I've never heard
the
this
sales
perspective, and it just makes so much sense.
I mean, you already hear people all the time. Like, how many times do you see like pages on Facebook, or maybe not now, but before, like moms against Supercross, whatever? I don't know. Like dirt bikes are gonna kill your kid, like stuff like that. It's like, I don't know. It's just crazy, right? How people think. But then you go out and you tell them, you professional athletes are telling them that it's too dangerous to ride on the road. And then next thing you know, there's like just a bunch of people that are like, yeah, they're right. It's too dangerous. We shouldn't be doing it. But man, I keep losing my
So
thought.
when did you 7 years ago?
Yeah.
You were like, so you just had an epiphany,
Yeah.
like, hey, maybe I just like should get a street bike.
Yeah,
And
I'm going to ride on the street. I'm going to start just riding with these people that support our sport, right? And then I'd go out and as a racer, like, I don't want to go race on the street. Like, I have no interest in going out and going super fast. But I like doing wheelies. I like drifting around the corners. But sponsors, like, manufacturers really don't like that. But like we talked about earlier, these are the guys that I know are going to come and grow our sport, or the people that are watching all these reels, right? But if we can't show something to them that relates
Is
to
relatable.
them, yeah, like they're never gonna. I don't know. Like for a motocross guy, it's a lot easier, I think, because people can just go and ride a dirt bike wherever they want, and they can just go huck flips if they want to. Like there's a lot of stuff they can go do. But if you want to go and ride your street bike on the track, like it's super expensive. Like $450 for a set of tires. It's going to be done in 1 or 2 days. Like the track day fees, $250 just to go ride on the track.
You got to get good leathers. You got to get like the whole,
There's a lot of stuff that goes into it that people don't realize. And so the street social media stuff, like being able to, I don't know, you see what's really popular right now with, obviously MotoGP is on another level with social media. Like you see Marc Marquez getting like 250,000 likes on a video or something. Like it's nuts. But
I think that's just like the Europe effect too, though.
Yeah.
You know? Like it's just, and it's so ingrained in European culture.
Yeah. And, in the US, like those likes are going to street stuff. Like I could post content of me on a track. If I do like something cool, like our bike now is probably 250 plus horsepower, but I can't wheelie it because it's just so much electronics holding me back. People don't realize that.
Have you spoke to Jack Miller about it?
No.
Dude, you need to talk to Jack. He's like got away. I can't remember. we were riding somewhere in Spain, and someone was asking him, and he's like, "You just got to do this, and this," and like it just like fully freaks out the like the wheelie control, and then you can do it. But he was like fully having to explain it.
Oh, if they saw me wheelie though, they would. My crew chief would chew me out. Like,
Really?
oh yeah, I'm gonna mess something up. Like, even I mean, I had a guy, one of the teams I rode for. He's like they call him the superbike genius. Like the guy knows everything about bikes. He's built his own MotoGP bikes, whatever. And I was racing for him, and I was just doing. I'm not like a great wheelier, but you don't see racers wheeling ever. So like I can wheelie better than most racers, but I never cover rear brake. I'm always just throttle control, and people think it's nuts, but that's just the only way I can do it. If I tried to rear brake, I'm gonna like slam down the forks, and I suck. Yeah, it's like you're gonna blow my engines up. Stop doing that. Like we made a whole year we didn't blow any engine up. I did a wheelie every race. I loved it. But when I was in Supersport, the year you would have saw me, like I was wheeling then, and you post a video then, and it gets whatever. Some of them blow up, right? I don't know how many likes, but they do really well. But most of the time you post like racing content, it doesn't do that well. But I could post a street video of me doing a wheelie, and it's going to get a couple million views. And then some, like over the years, like I've done street content like that, and I get 250, 300 people that come up like, I bought that bike because of this video.
I wanted a Panigale V2 because of those videos.
Really?
Yeah, 100%, bro.
And that's so cool.
I went to Ducati. I went to Ducati and I was like, "Oi, can I get a Panigale V2?" I was like, "I think that's the bike that I want," and it was purely off. It was one of the videos of you just drifting. Sick. I was like, "There's no fucking way this dude is doing that right." I just thought it was the coolest shit, man. And that bike actually is amazing. I rode it at Phillip Island.
I love it.
I love that bike, dude.
All bikes, of course, like until you put an exhaust on them, they're not really like you don't get that feel of the bike. So
I rode Ollie Bayliss's race bike.
Oh,
he raced it in the Supersport category at home that year, and dude, that thing was so much fun.
Yeah,
I loved that bike.
Yeah, that's like one of those the V2
it's almost
in like
a
race
350.
Mode. Yeah, it does. It has like torque and just I don't know. You could just do whatever you want with it. It's like a mix of like a super great racing sport bike, like almost like a dirt bike. Like I don't know. It's really strange. Like it just feels fun to ride. Wheelie it, slide it, like just go ride it comfy on the street. Like it was a really fun bike to ride. That's why part of the reason why I like Daytona so much is because it's just I get to race that bike when I race it, and it's just fun.
Oh,
yeah, because we don't race the super bike, we race the super sport bikes
at Daytona.
Yeah,
is it just because it's too fast?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, they say like they just get nervous, like with just how hot the tires get, with how fast the bikes are, and the walls are so close. Like last time I raced Daytona on a super bike we were going like 208 miles an hour around the banking, like, but you're like
close.
I don't know, a foot from the wall or something, going 208 miles an hour, like turning full lean. So if there is ever any kind of like failure with a tire or something, then you're screwed. But I mean, what's the difference in 208 and 180? Like when you get up there, it's like it doesn't really matter.
There's probably a physicist that's like, a lot, bro. Yeah. No, but I mean, you're so right. To the human body, like you're.
Yeah.
If you hit the wall, like you're mush.
Yeah, and I think that's what kind of like hurts road racing a little bit now, is everybody's so worried about safety of things. Where before it was just like you had to have balls to like yeah, man. Like so the electronics are like hurting that a little bit. Track safety, and as much as it is great that all that stuff is advancing the safety, I do love that. But the racing side of things, like even airbags in the suits, it's so amazing that I can go crash my bike and it hurts way less. And I get way less injuries now, so the length of my career is good. And so I love Alpine Stars for doing that and protecting me so I can go home with my kids safe. But the racing side of things is like now people aren't afraid because there's airbags protecting you. There's the air fence against the walls that are like going to help the cushion of the fall or sliding against the wall or tire barrier. The bikes are making it to where you don't high side as much anymore. And I miss that because I've been around now professionally for 20 years. So I was right at the time where that stuff was coming along. I miss, man, like people high siding. Like I want to know that like I'm on the edge, and you may be afraid on the last lap to push that hard, but I'm not. Like I want to go, and that's what separates us. So yeah, that's been really weird too.
I could see that. Like I could see how, I mean, you talk to Casey Stoner about this.
Yeah.
He hates it all. He's like, just get rid of all the electronics, get rid of all the aero, get rid of all this. Like, just put dudes on bikes, because these guys just are nowhere near. It's hard to say. Like, I wonder if they're nowhere near as good, or if they're able to just do crazy shit now because the bikes just give them such a different level of confidence and ability. It's like, it used to just be like rider versus machine. Now it's like rider and machine versus physics.
I would say that they're all, the greats are the greats. Like, they talk about it in basketball and all that stuff, right? Like, if you, this day, like today, if Jordan was going against LeBron, like all that kind of stuff, like there's only so good that people can be at things. And over the years, when technology gets better, like, whatever's helping that sport grow, like, yeah, you're going to improve. But I mean, we're all human. Like, we can all do the same thing that guy does. It's just how much work you put into it. I don't think there's guys that obviously are like uncoordinated when they're born. They just can't, maybe they can't race a motorcycle, or you're missing that.
I'm not.
Oh, you?
That's me, bro. You're looking at him. That's why I do this.
But like, I think like a Pecco Bagnaia versus a Stoner versus a Doohan versus a Swan Sereni, like, I think that if they were all at the same time
on the same bike,
yeah, they'd be racing each other for the race wins. And I think it's just like Stoner grew up in the two-stroke era where there wasn't all that stuff, right? And when you grow up like without computers, you're like, these computers are stupid. I don't want a cell phone like my dad, right? They hate it until they have it, and then they use it, and they're addicted to it. And they realize how much it does help them. Or like me having a kid, like my mom or whoever is like, oh, you don't need that thing. We didn't have that when you were a kid. Like, yeah, but it's so much nicer with it now, right? It's just the same thing. And but I do miss that. I miss just the separation. I think that is, there may not be as many of those guys now that are at that level, because some of them would be scared if they had to ride a bike like a 500 or whatever.
Yeah.
Or if there was a wall right here. Like, I love that stuff. Like, Isle of Man to me is like so cool. I just, as you can see, I have a hard time even in a conversation remembering what we were talking about. So like remembering that turn goes left instead of right, I don't think I'd be okay for that.
Yeah, Daytona, pretty easy. I can do the big circle real fast. Like, that one's good.
Minute and a half, I'm good. 30-minute lap, no way, I'm going to hit a wall. So that's my problem, is I don't have, I can't even hold a conversation sometimes and remember what we're talking about. But I like the fear side of things. Like, not everybody's going to go and huck the quad. Like, or Larocco's leap, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not everybody's Bryson DeChambeau. It can hit, a par 5 and almost make it to the green or whatever. Like, there's always going to be a thing like that person's afraid to go in the water and then get a penalty, whatever. I don't know. So, a lot of racers from my era or before will say that they miss that stuff, or spec tire rules. Like, there's good and there's bad. Like, we all know we're on the same tire. That's cool. But everybody's on the same tire, and like, I don't know, it just changes things that the older racer is going to wish that they had the other way.
Yeah.
But it's just the same with everything in life. Everything advances, and a lot of it is you wish it didn't.
Yeah. How good is the airbag? Because I've thankfully never tested mine.
Dude, it's nuts.
Really?
And it's just getting better and better. Like, we don't have the ones that the GP guys have right now. We're usually like, everything that they have, we get about a year or 2 years later. So they're always trying newer stuff. But we still have, newer things coming out that we get to try also sometimes. But I remember I was so against putting the airbag on because it just adds weight, and I was afraid it would get hot, or what if something happens and it goes off when I'm riding and it shouldn't. There was a lot of things I was worried about, but they were like pushing for me, like, hey, like, Gabrielle really wants everybody to be wearing this. Will you wear it? And so I remember trying it at MotoAmerica in 2018, and I fell. And knowing, actually, I didn't, I tried at MotoAmerica, but then the next race I think was in Utah at Miller Motorsports Park, and I had a huge crash. And if I didn't have that airbag, I would have been screwed. Like, you could probably find, you could find it on YouTube, but it's like, it was maybe like a 4th gear wide open, so I forget, like maybe 130 or 40, something like that. And the only thing that hurt was my hand a little bit, but like my forks had snapped off the frame, like the bike was just cartwheeling. And I remember thinking from that moment, like, I will never not ride with this thing again, because it went from almost like, this is a bad analogy probably, but it's the quickest thing that I can think of. It's like if I could imagine being like tackled by a football player like with no pads, like imagine like rugby versus NFL. Like maybe does that like
Yeah. But this actually goes to your point. Like this is a good analogy because I played rugby. That's what I did my whole life growing up, right? So I played until I was 16, 17, left school. And when I watched the NFL, I'm like, yeah, no shit, these guys have brain damage. Like they have a helmet and they can just smash into each other.
Yeah.
Like in rugby, you spend so much of your life drilling the proper technique to make tackles. Because you can't go in with your neck, you can't go in with your head. There's like such a way, and now I love the NFL for what it is. So for all of the Americans listening to this, like I love the NFL. But for years I would watch it and I would just see the way they would tackle. And I'm like, you're not tackling the person. Like if you actually had technique and you tackled this guy in the way that like we get literally just taught from when we're 4 years old, you would have stopped that dude scoring a touchdown and you wouldn't have fucking brained yourself in the process. Yeah. But I think it literally speaks to what you're saying about taking some of that fear away, because as soon as you have such gnarly protection, you can just throw caution to the wind.
Yeah.
And the consequences are just nowhere near as severe. Yeah. Same as like bare knuckle boxing versus like, let's say 16-ounce sparring gloves.
Yeah.
Like you can just see some dudes in the gym when they're sparring just throwing at each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you did that with your bare hands, you would break your hand 1,000,000%. So it actually is a good analogy, but I just think in road racing, it's just like, we're talking about death.
Yeah.
Like actual, you're going to die if this goes bad.
Yeah. Because you're protecting like your upper body, right? Like, which the newer ones they're starting to go like hips, all that stuff. But yeah, you think like I've heard of so many road racers with like and dirt bike guys too, punctured lungs, like all that kind of stuff. So I would think all of that would be, better for it. So, and now, I've had crashes now where like I didn't charge my airbag and I'm like, oh shit, like, but I don't have time to put it back, and then I end up crashing. I'm just like, fuck, dude. Like my wife is always like, now she just checks it all the time, and she's not like super worried about stuff like that, or she doesn't show it, I guess. Like I remember that crash in 18. It was when I first started dating her. It was like a couple months in, and I came in like that was the biggest crash of my life, but I was fine because of the airbag. I'm just like, you didn't even care. Like I wasn't mad, but I'm like, why are you so calm? She's like, well, you got up and walked, like you're fine.
Yeah, and you're like, you have no idea how gnarly this was. Like, yeah,
but it's like the airbag just, it's so important now. Like, and I would never ride without it. But so it's weird. Like I say that I wish that things were how they used to be.
But I can see how it changes things.
Yeah,
for sure. And the NFL is a great analogy. Like some of those guys and the way that they would just throw their body.
Yeah.
And like just these huge collisions. You're not doing that without a helmet and pads.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
And it does, like with one of the things I forgot to mention is like after that, I had this like extra confidence then, because I knew like, oh, well, it doesn't hurt as bad to crash. So like, let's send it. Like that's how I kind of like went forward. But I've also always been the type of guy that nobody likes to crash, but I would say I almost always have, like, at least the last 5 years, the least amount of crashes because I'm not pushing in practice or qualifying, stuff like that. That's why I've always been so shocked, like, Supercross guys, like, how much they ride. I'm like, there's so much risk. Like, and your guys' track is changing every lap. It's different the next time you come by. For us, it's exactly the same unless someone, like, goes off the edge and brings some rocks on, or if somebody, doesn't ever happen and the corner workers see it, but, like, leaked oil on the track or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's changing all the time. Like they ride and they get injured all the time. It's like, well, you're riding like 200 days out of the year. What do you expect? Like for me, like I haven't rode my bike since the last race in September, and I won't ride it again until February. And I will only ride my race bike maybe 2 or 3 days before my first race. And there's some guys like, like the Yamaha team, they still test quite a bit, like maybe 15, 20 days before the season starts. But then the guys are getting hurt, or, there's a lot of risk involved. Like I'd rather, if I can be competitive, I'd rather not ride at all, because then maybe my career lasts 10 years longer than those guys.
Yeah.
So
I had a friend text me the other day, and he was like, put out a public service announcement on your podcast the next show that you do about all these dudes stopping riding right now before A1. Just get on the treadmill. Just keep on your fitness program. If you're not hurt right now, A1's on the 11th of January. Stop fucking riding.
Yeah.
So many guys always get hurt because they're like scrambling, like, did I do enough? Did I do enough? Am I fast enough?
It's not going to change right now.
Yeah, it's like you're not getting any better. Your bike's going to get marginally better. The track's going to be weird at A1. Just don't ride. Because, the risk that they're exposed to, I mean, dude, think about a chain coming off, a rock getting in the chain, like just freak little things that always happen that can just completely derail your season. Like it's one of the things that I wish our sport could control for. Yeah. But I just don't think it can.
Like in MotoGP or somewhere where they say like you can only test this many those tracks are so hard to get on that somebody's gonna be there. That there's so many people that have to be there for the track to go that someone will know they're there. But like you could have a Supercross track in the mountains somewhere, no one would even know you're riding.
Well, they're all at their houses.
Yeah,
like they all rock up, they all ride. Like, and I mean, it's one of the reasons why I really like the WSX series is because it's traveling all over the world.
Yeah,
the bike's in a box. It's going to a crate. There's no practice bikes. And all those guys still rip. All the dudes still win. Same guys. It's all the same. Yeah. The difference is they're just not exposing themselves to the crazy amount of risk. And not only risk, it's like wear and tear on your body. Yeah. You've got, there's like some people, like some doctors literally think that like with your DNA and your genetics, you have a certain amount of heartbeats in your life. Wow. And that's it. And it's like once you've through that number, like there's only so much like that muscle can take. Yeah. That's not a fact. It's just like some doctors and scientists that research that shit. That's what they believe. So it's like even just think about
if your heart rate's higher for longer than most people.
Yeah. But like, and even just think about that in terms of like laps. Yeah. Like let's say you've just got a finite amount of laps before like the jig's up and something bad goes down. Yeah. So it's like, do as little fucking laps as you possibly can to maintain the level that you need to maintain.
Yeah. I mean, even like for me, when we go testing, like I hate if we did like back in the day, like Yamaha would go, I don't know, maybe 20 days that we would go test or something like that. And I hated doing laps. Like I just hate it. I dread it. And everyone's always like, it's so important that you do this so we can get up to speed for the race. Like, dude, when we show up on Friday, we're going to be using a setup that has nowhere near what we tested. We're always going to be changing. So I don't want to hear the setup stuff. And like this year, I rode the least out of anybody that I was racing against, and I won. So I rode my Superbike maybe before the season started. I rode it 2 days. It was like 6-7 months. Then I rode it 2 days, and then we raced, and then I won the championship. So I don't care what anybody I've ever met in Supercross. I have this discussion with them, and a lot of times they don't see it. But I'm like, I promise you that if Jet Lawrence didn't go and ride his bike the whole winter, he could show up at A1 and he would still, if he's the guy that's going to win, he's going to win. He's putting in all the work, training, like gym. A lot of times they don't. Like some guys, like especially when you're young, you don't need to do anything. Like our sport is very physically demanding, but this year I did not train from February until this point right now. I haven't done anything. And the last lap of the race, doing the fastest lap of the race, feeling great. So like when you feel it, most of the time it's like, just how good you feel on your bike. Like if your crew, you got the right mindset and your bike, you're just comfortable in your sitting position. Like that's the most important thing is mental. And then like how you feel when you sit and look at the bike, like looking good is feeling good, like that type of thing. Like I think that's true. Like when I sit on my bike, if I feel good sitting on it and I look at it and I like it, I'm going to do a lot better. And I would bet so much money that those guys could literally just stop doing test track stuff and they'd be just as fast.
Right, I completely agree. Like, I think there's I mean, at least for me, I'm a very average rider. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe just a smidge above average. But I need to ride a lot. Like, when I did World Vets, not this year, the year before, and I actually trained for it, I rode as much as I've ever rode in my life. And that was definitely, like, the best I ever rode. Yeah. But it wasn't, like, that much better. Yeah. Like, I just was really bike fit. Like, that was one thing. And I think motocross and supercross are definitely, I would almost make the argument that it's gnarlier than like a MotoGP or a Superbike in
like physically demanding?
Physicality, I would think just
So
what's your heart? Do you know your heart rate
during the race?
Yeah.
The last time I did it, it was like as if I was riding a bicycle. Like I was in 190s.
Really?
But there's some guys like that are lower, but I'm just like going the whole time.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me to like control my emotion on the bike. I've gotten better at it.
Yeah.
recently.
So you think it's more like in terms of your
like just calm
fight or flight, like nervous
Yeah.
system, you're in like that mode more so
your
than
adrenaline.
like,
It's like I'm like about to get in a fight. Like that's how I feel a lot of times.
yeah.
But I'm not gonna name any names or anything like that. And I'm like, if you were to compare me to like the top guys in my sport, like a Jake Gagne, let's just say a Cam Peterson, like guys, Matthew Skoltz, they're like in really good physical shape. Like they just love.
Yeah, that
being
it's
healthy
part
and-
of them. Yeah.
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 I would say I'm not like that. Like I've always been like pretty naturally fit, and I can go pretty much do anything.
And you've done it for a long time too.
Yep.
So there's like a lot of muscle memory.
Yep. But like I've gone to the gym with some dirt bike guys before, and I was like shocked. I'm like, wait, that guy is like, he was way like shaking, like just doing planks or something. He's shaking, like top level Supercross guys. And yeah, it's winter time, but still, like they ride enough that they're strong. But I know no matter, even if I was stronger than that guy in that moment, if I were to go get on a dirt bike, I could do 2 laps and he could go do a 30-minute moto at that pace. Like I could do 2 laps at my pace and I'd be like, oh my God. Then I could go get on my road race bike and he would be tired from the braking. Like it's just different things you're using, right? But I was shocked, like in the gym, how weak some of the guys were that I saw. And that was just mind-blowing to me because for me, Supercross is probably the hardest, like physically demanding sport. Like not only with injuries, but just like everything, right? But the most important thing I think on the dirt bike or the road race bike is your cardio. Like it doesn't matter how strong you are. Like Danny Pedrosa was so small. Like you see those guys, right? Like Tony Elias was so small.
Yeah.
He goes to the gym and he's strong, but he's tiny. So I think it's just cardio, like just being able to like maintain that. You're breathing, like
maintain
you
the
get
heart rate.
past high pressure situation. You're scared. Somebody passes you real tight or bumps you. You got to like control your heart rate and not like panic in that moment. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So 23, all I did was ride my mountain bike. That's all I did from December to February. In those 3 months, I did 3.5 months, 220,000 feet of elevation not on an e-bike, just on a mountain bike. Because where I lived in LA, we could just go out of my driveway either way. And I was like in a valley and I could just climb 3,000 feet this way and then ride the hill, go down, climb up more hills. Like I
Did
was
you have
just
good
constantly-
trails, like enduro sort of trails?
Yeah. Like mainly fire roads. Like we were doing a lot of
so
fire
it was
road
a lot
stuff.
of just training riding.
Yeah, a lot.
Yep.
And that year, I was so focused and so strong. I didn't do one gym workout like the whole year prior. Like when I say none, I didn't do a push-up, I didn't do a squat, nothing. But when I found out I was riding Superbike at the end of 22, going into 23, I was like 165 pounds. It was the heaviest I've ever been in my life. And on the mountain bike, I dropped down to like 143 by Daytona just by mountain biking. And I never once got arm pump that whole year. Never once got sore in my legs. Never once got sore in my core. Nothing. I felt like Terminator. Like I just felt so unstoppable. And then it was so good for me that this whole year I didn't do, and winter before, I didn't do anything. And I still carried out that same feeling. And now I'm like, all right, I got to start getting back. Like now I'm like I could still do what I did this year, but now I know just mental side, like how good the bicycle is for me.
Yeah.
That's all I'll ever do. Because every time I go to the gym, I end up getting injured. Like the last time that I did a gym workout, I was doing like a dumbbell bench press and my shoulder just like popped down, which, racers, you always have kind of like your shoulders
Those little,
are easy.
Yeah.
But the bicycle is just easy and was just the most effective thing, or running, just always keeping your cardio the best. That's anybody that asks me, I'm like, dude, just go run for 30 minutes every day. Like that'll help you so much on the motorcycle. It's unbelievable.
Before we get into this episode of the podcast, we need to bring you a quick word from our sponsor, motorsport.com. I got a YZ450F out the back there that I got some upgrades to do. You know exactly where I'm going. I'm going to need some help with customer service, so I'm going to chat with a gearhead. This box showed up. It has a 2007 KTM Master Cylinder, a Yamaha caliper, also 2007, and a Turner braided brake lines. I feel like this is a very good upgrade for $600. Need the old hanger, so we're gonna put a bit of grease on that. Get it back on, bolt her up. Caliper has been done. Now this can just get bolted on. Now, shout out to Kiefer, who I think stole this off Doug Dubai. That was easy. No, that was easy. All it needs now is to be bled and ridden. This is a pretty epic upgrade. You can get OEM parts to build this little Frankenstein brake kit, or basically anything else for any brand by going to motorsport.com. Yeah, no, and it's honestly awesome to hear somebody at your level kind of say that, because I agree. I definitely think once you've got that muscle memory and once you've got, like, there's such a base. How many laps has Eli Tomac done in his life?
I don't know, a lot.
20,000? 30,000?
No one Supercross, how they do it.
40,000? Like, dude, how many? Yeah. It would be insane. And yeah, like he did World Supercross, went to Canada, obviously didn't ride, did the practice, could still do all the jumps. Yeah. It was still really fast, won the race.
Yeah.
Flew to Perth, no practice, no nothing, got on the bike, won the race.
Yeah.
Went to Abu Dhabi, won the championship. And it's like all those guys were all in the same boat. But the problem is that there's just no way to control for it in our sport.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just gonna let someone's gonna build a track in their backyard. They're gonna find a hangar. So no, you know, you police it with drones. All right, now we're gonna put it in a hangar.
Yeah.
Like I just don't think in our sport there's anyone that's ever gonna kind of like have the balls.
Yeah.
To just not do that.
I think that it's almost like the riders need to get together. And like, to me, if I'm a rider, I'm like, I don't want to get injured. Like, you just get together and say, like, I'm not doing.
There'll be one guy that'll do it.
God.
And then the teams will want to do it. And like, people always, I agree with you, but people always push back on that point.
And they need to justify the money they're spending too.
Well, and all the teams have all the mechanics. Like, dude, Star Racing, they're literally racing every single day. Wow. It's crazy that there's not more injuries than there is.
Yeah.
It's just cool to hear. It's cool to hear you say it. But I think that that's one of the good things about your sport, and that's why guys have like really long careers.
Yeah.
You know,
like now I could race. I think I could race till I'm 50. Like, I'm not. And I'm not. Obviously, there's GP riders that we could say, like, okay, that guy's better than me. I don't know, because we'll never be on the track. Like, Petrucci came here and he didn't win. He won a couple races, but he didn't win the championship. Like, and he's a MotoGP winner. Loris Baz, my teammate last year, like, freaking, like, so fast, but he doesn't just come here and win. So it's weird saying, like, people are like, oh, well, you're not in GP, or the GP guys are way better. Like, I don't really think so. I think that if they all, like, we go to a track that we both know on the same bike and we're both mentally there and physically okay, like, I don't think that this guy's just way better. Like, it's like MXGP and Supercross. Like, you see, like, I don't remember well enough, like, how Villapoto did. I know he had some good races, he had some difficult races, but you leave him there long enough, he's going to be that guy. Like, if you put him with the right team and there's nobody going against him internally, like, they're all the same. Like, I think it's just the experience and the timing of everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No. I mean, I'd honestly agree with it. Yeah, dude. It's just, it would be awesome to know what it would be like to have that in the sport on our side, because it's just so overdone with the riding and the amount of injuries, and it, like, God, they're just taking crazy risks, dude.
But then you have some guys who are like, how does he not, like I don't know, there's probably some riders that are just never injured or just very rarely. And you're like, how do you do that many laps with a track that's changing that often? Like, to me, that's nuts that you don't get hurt. But the longer, like, the more you ride, you know the edge, but the track changing all the time. Like, that's the thing to me that I will never understand, because our, road racing, that doesn't happen. So it'll be cold asphalt versus warm asphalt and stuff like that.
And your tires kind of changing, but
yeah, but I mean, as long as you just go when your tires are hot, like, I don't know, it's pretty much the same all the time.
that was the thing. So before, when I did the stuff with Ducati, right, I'd never done a track day, always wanted to, and just never did it, and was always very scared. Like I remember being very scared the first track day that I did.
Yeah.
And then I got out there and I was like, this is like really nice.
Yeah.
Like it felt not easy, but it definitely, like, it felt easy to do it.
Yeah.
It's obviously not easy to like really do it.
To just like go out and participate. Like,
Yeah, but I thought I was gonna feel like I was gonna crash at every fucking moment, you know. But I went out there and it was cool. Like I was with Ollie and Troy Bayless, so obviously like a couple of good coaches, you know. But I just remember by the end of the day, like I wanted to do 1,000 laps. I felt really confident. I felt like I really enjoyed it, and I just thought I was going to be very scared and very sketchy. But to be like a moto guy that would go on the road, or to not the road, but to the track, it was actually a way better experience than I thought it would be, and I felt way safer than I thought that I would feel. And I think it's because it's not changing every single lap. You have a lot of grip.
Yeah.
And then when I went and I actually rode 2 up with Jack Miller.
Yeah. Oh, I think I remember that video.
Bro.
Was it Phillip Island or was it
No,
like
it
a
was the
local
Bend.
track? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is the fastest track in Australia.
I think I remember seeing you posting something about that.
Hectic. So then that like completely changed my whole.
Yeah.
I don't like.
You could see what's possible. You're like,
it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like I actually don't know how.
And just imagine, like, let's just say, you know, when you're on the track together, like I did a 2-up on not a race bike, but like, let's just say my lap time at Laguna is a minute 22. But then when I do a 2-up, it's like probably like a minute 45 or something. You're like, so not only do those people that I love taking people like you on the back that are just new to it and they see like, holy shit, like that feeling, right? I love having the Cardo on and listening to them. I did it with the one of the guys from OnlyFans. He came to Laguna and I brought him on the bike and just listening to him screaming in the helmet and stuff. No.
No, not. Yeah, sorry, different.
Yeah.
I thought Cardo. I had Cardo
no.
in my head. Yeah.
And just listening to his reaction while we were riding, it was so cool. And then to be able to come in and say, yeah, like, you know, our lap time's 25 seconds faster than what
Which
I
is
just did. Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. Like, how long, like when you're on a racetrack waiting 25 seconds for a guy to come around, you're like, yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
So that's what's cool to me, is those 2-ups. Like I was always afraid to do it because just having someone on the back throwing their weight around in a weird way, that's so weird. But I did it with like, you know, Joe Roberts racing Moto2.
Yeah.
So he's like 2015, I was teammates with him. And so I've known him since he was a little bit younger. And he's just crazy. I'm like, all right, and I know I'm crazy, but I'm like, I don't want to be on the back, but I had to do it. He like really wanted me to go on the back with him, so I did it. And anybody that rides, you don't want to go on the back with anyone. But I knew this guy was going to try to just scare me because I knew he'd crash. He doesn't even care. He's like, he would just crash.
Jack said the exact same thing. He's like, hey bro, I'm like fully prepared to crash. I'm just like, bro.
I remember it was like a lap, and I'm like, all right, pull the fuck over. Like, I'm done. Like, I was so scared. And he was pushing, I know, as hard as he possibly could to try to scare me, and it worked. Like, but we were still probably 15 seconds off what we would normally do, or 10.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's nuts. Like, or even like when I watch a race, like let's just say like one year I couldn't race because the team I was on, they folded, and so I had to watch around with no teams, right? So I'm a spectator. And I'm just like, holy shit. Like, it's so cool going and watching the guys that you race against and realizing
what
how
you do.
Yeah. And you don't realize that you're going that fast. And a lot, like, you just get a whole new respect for what we do. And I wish that I could have people feel that way, like to feel even what I feel like that. It is neat. Like watching, like from the sidelines, just seeing someone do what I do and just thinking how fast they are.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
The thing that for me, like, because I did a couple track days first, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I feel like I know what they're doing.
Yep.
And then I went on the back and I was like, oh no, I actually had no idea.
Yeah.
Like it's like you walk into like the first room of a house, but it's actually a New York skyscraper, and you're just like literally in the lobby, and you're like, damn, this place is pretty big. And then you get on the elevator for like 45 seconds, you're like, oh man, this is like really, really, really big.
Yeah.
I tell people the feeling, and this was like the mind blowing thing for me, is it's like the feeling of that you guys when you're dropping the bike in is like the feeling of falling back on an office chair.
Really?
You get like that.
Yeah.
And you're gone. Then like there's no more, like gravity is now working against you and you are falling to the floor. But then it just stops. And then you're like locked. So it literally feels like you're defying gravity to then get to more gravity.
That's funny.
And it's like that feeling, dude, and how your body weight. So it was pretty cool. Like I did that lap with Jack. And then the next time I got to do anything, I was actually at Sete Gibber's house. And
he has the kart track, right?
Yeah, he's got the kart track. And then he took us on the 2-up motard.
Yep.
And then he's like, you got to put your head basically just put your head as far down as you can. And it was like me, Coop, and Danny Rick, and we were all there just like having a day at his place.
Oh, Cooper Webb was there.
Yeah, yeah. Sick. And he'd never.
I think I vaguely remember that now.
Yeah, so he'd never ridden a street bike at all. I can't remember if Danny had or not. But then because of this experience I had with Jack, I just dumped, dude. Like my head, there's like photos of my head being like that close to the ground because I kind of knew what was possible, and and obviously like I had Sete, he's not gonna crash.
Yeah.
So he kind of just like stays up straight and then lets you.
Oh, your head was that close while you're on the back.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. And so he basically had it set up. So he had motard, dual deal.
Yeah.
And then he basically just like rides it around and then he lets you be the
That's
one.
That's sketchy for him. Like to throw the weight around.
Yeah, he was like, it was unreal. But yeah, basically I just went the whole lap just based off that experience with Jack because I haven't rode a big bike since then.
Yeah.
And just throwing so much of my weight. And Sete was like laughing. He's like, dude, that's crazy. But that feeling, like I could have never known how far you could actually push it if I didn't do that lap.
Yeah, it's Jack. Almost like you need to do that at the beginning because then otherwise, let's just say you ride track days for a year and then
I would have rode forever.
Yeah.
Like I would have never got that far.
Yeah. So I like it, but it's very rare that you can find somebody like at that level to go and do it with. A lot of riders don't even do track days like pro racers. So it's really rare to like get one to go and show you stuff like that. But when you can, like for sure take advantage of it. Or even like at MotoAmerica races, there's an ex-racer, Chris Ulrich, that does kind of like what Randy Momola did for a while, like a 2-up.
Yeah.
And then it goes to like putting air fence on the track, stuff like they donate all the earnings that they get and stuff. But I always try to get anybody that comes to the race that'll do it, like go and do it. Just because then you have so much more respect. Imagine if you could get on the back of a bike with Jet Lawrence and go do a triple. Like then you'd
just
be
whoops, dude. Just like how fast those guys hit whoops is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And to be staring at the fucking things.
Yeah.
Like that is mind blowing.
Yeah.
How did the thing that I left there though, I was like, how do you first do that? Like that fit because there's like the safe zone.
I'll never know. Like that's the thing I'm jealous sometimes about is like I don't know. Like because I was so little when I learned that I don't remember like what is it like the first time you drag a knee or what is it like when you lean over for the first time?
Yeah, but you can drag a knee and be nowhere close.
Yeah, like especially if you're tall, it's easy, yeah.
But like the what Jack did when I rode with him on the back of that bike, like I said, it just didn't feel real and it didn't feel right. And there's just no way I would have ever got there and known it was even possible. And that was the big question I left with. I was like, how do you do that the first time? Like, do you just have to crash to know the limit? Or like, how does that happen? Because I could have rode track days forever and I just never would have found that.
That's why, like, I'm real big on mini bike stuff, like you did at Sete's house, Supermoto, or like the Ovales or something like that. Like me and my family, we own a track just like Sete has, but it's in Georgia.
Oh, sick!
Yeah, it's called the Herrin Compound. So it's now my mom runs it by herself. My sister helps a little bit, but like it's half mile, like 45-second long lap time on a 450. But if you can like go ride a mini bike on a track, that's where you learn all that stuff. To me, it's way easier because then you can go crash. Like you can't just tell someone, oh yeah, go crash going 100 miles an hour. Like, no one's gonna say it, and everybody in our sport's gonna be like, "You're an idiot. Why would you tell somebody that?" But you kind of like need to. Like, you need to know how far you can push a tire, and like, yes, like you go to a mini bike track or just a giant open parking lot and like just do some circles and get better. Like, do figure eights and just further and further and further, and then you just get to the limit where you fall, and like, but you know how far you could go, right? Like, I think that's really important for people to like understand, because you can't really teach someone to like, I don't know, like go push the limit until you just crash. Like, you just got to go get on a small bike so you think you're in control, and then you fall and you're like, whoa, like I touched my knee and then I fell. Like, but you need to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're always just riding in fear that you're going to crash, I think.
Yeah. And that's definitely, I wouldn't say that I was in fear of crashing, but you're just not even near the limit.
Yeah.
Like, you could just go so much further than, what you are. And there's a thing, like the straight line speed. I mean, I think I did 300 at Phillip Island down the main straight.
Yeah. What is that in mile an hour? Like,
I don't know, 200 maybe?
Really?
What's 200? No,
like,
that's more. That's like 340.
Yeah.
Maybe 100.
It was a stock bike?
It was a Panigale. It was actually the naked bike.
Like a V4 Street Fighter?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would say, you're close to like 180, 170.
Yeah, it's probably 180, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think 200, let's just look it up. I want to figure that out. Get out of here. ChatGPT. It's like my go-to for everything.
Dude, I love it.
I can't believe you ChatGPT details before this.
Yeah, let's see what it said.
How fast is 300 MPA? Okay. It is.
It says you focus on in-depth interviews with
186.
Yeah. In-depth interviews with personalities from the motocross, supercross, and broader action sports communities. Since its inception, the platform has garnered over 20 million downloads and views, reflecting its significant impact within these sports circles.
Fucking look at me go.
I mean, dude, it's crazy how smart it is. But
it is wild.
Like, okay,
yeah, so like
now we trust everything, though. Like go to Google and it's like AI. Like, oh, like now all of a sudden we type something in, we want a question, and it's like whatever they want us to know.
Oh, man. And when it first came out, I've been using it like a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
When it first came out, like, my wife's so funny. She talks to the dude all the time. She just fully fucks with it, like tries to get it to break. And there's just so much stuff that it just like wouldn't say, wouldn't go near, wouldn't reply to. Just like,
I have Santa Claus talking to my kid.
Really?
Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Show me. That's fucking awesome.
Oh, the service isn't great.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
not.
it's not even down or like load in the voice. It's like the normal voice, but yeah, it has like the Santa Claus voice. And
No
I say,
way.
"Hey Santa, my son Griffin is, not being a good boy at dinner tonight. Can you tell him like what happens?" Like, "Oh, Griffin, you have to be a good boy for mommy and daddy, so you get on the nice and have like a full conversation." It's nuts. Like, it's crazy.
Man, growing up now as a kid has got to be a weird experience. Well, I mean, not weird because I don't know any different, but like the way that we grew up, bro, like I didn't have a phone until I was 15.
Oh, we like try not to let him play with the iPad and stuff a lot, but I feel like it's one of those things where you're like, your mom's like, "You didn't have that." I'm like, "Yeah, but like, look, he's being an absolute terror at dinner. And if I just like, he didn't ask for it, but if I just give him this, then he just calms down." Like, we're talking, like we're having grown up time talking right now. Like, obviously I'm not just using it to like distract my kid so I don't need to be around him. But if I'm trying to have a conversation with you and this is a good tool to give him and he's learning, like he can go on there. I put what I want on there.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
He just turned 3 and he's like already like can put what he wants on there. He'll just go change it. So you have to lock it. And it's like, it's insane. It's
I wonder, surely it has to help kids learn faster.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I mean, everybody thinks their kid is the smartest, and I don't compare to anybody, but it is nuts, the stuff that my kid says, and he's been saying since he was 2. It's like, what? Like, just the things he comes up with. I'm like, how do you even know what that is? Like, the other day, he goes, "Daddy, that was strange." And I'm just like,
bro,
I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but
that's strange.
Yeah. A 3-year-old telling me in the backseat that, why did they do that with their Christmas lights? That's strange, or whatever he said. I'm just like, what? Or what do you? Sometimes I swear, my kid is my grandpa. Like, my grandpa passed away. I'm like, I swear, my like they're born,
Yeah.
like they know everything, but they haven't unlocked it yet, and then it just slowly gets unlocked. I don't know, something weird like that. Because he just says stuff, and I'm just like, you shouldn't know what that is.
Nah, dude, yeah, there's got to be some really accelerated learning.
Oh yeah,
that's going to come down the pipeline just because of like you think there's going to be just ways to just have, especially with the voice thing, to just when that gets better, you're like, oh, here's the kid's homework. Like, take a photo of the homework, and it's like, help the kid do the homework.
Yeah,
and it's like just put him there with the headphones and.
Yeah, it's gonna be the Tesla robot.
Legit. Like
the future of motorcycles is kind of scary for me because, Ducati could just come out with a bike. Like Yamaha did this already. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but they put the robot on the bike. This was like 10 years ago. They took a robot, put it on an R1, and he went out and did like 10 seconds off of like a real racer's lap time. That was 10 years ago.
Wait, what?
Yeah. This is like a real robot they had on their bike. Like imagine now, or 5 years from now, Ducati they could all have a robot that's the same skill level, doesn't get hurt, don't have to pay him, and then they're just racing their bikes to sell that the bike's the best bike. Like that's what I'm afraid of. Dude. Everybody's like, oh, electric bikes. I'm like, no, I'm not afraid of electric bikes. I'm afraid of electric people taking over my job.
It's so, I've never thought of that. Yeah. But I mean, that's a thing. Like, have you ever seen the swing robots in golf?
Oh yeah. Or just like, yeah, I've seen that.
Like I was at the Phoenix Waste Management Open, and the fucking thing hit a hole in one.
Really?
On the 17th.
I guess because it would know exactly what to do.
Yeah. It literally, first shot, hit a hole in one. Blew my mind. You know that hole, like the 17th?
Yeah, where everyone's like throwing trash.
Dude, the whole place. Like it took 45 minutes for the next golfer. It backed up the whole thing.
Wow.
This swing robot hits a hole in one. The whole place just erupts, and just beer and just shit was all over the thing.
How crazy is that?
You could do that for like any, yeah. And the thing is with robots, they don't have to look like a human.
Yeah, like what if there was just a robot inside of our gear like whatever, even now, like you wouldn't even know, and then the guy just goes to the trailer. Like
there's only got to be a certain amount of movements. Like the thing doesn't have to walk.
Yeah,
doesn't have to like. It could be like literally they like have a little engine dolly that just like drops it, and it's like kinda, and it's you're not doing that many positions.
Imagine,
bro. I've never thought about it.
Yeah,
that would be pretty. I mean.
It would be cool.
It wouldn't. You couldn't race them. Like
why?
It would be. Well, I mean, it would be like a magazine shootout. Like that's what would make it cool.
Yeah, I guess.
But not racing. Like,
but it'd be kind of cool. Like
it would be sick to know. Like what the actual fastest.
Imagine it was like all Tesla robots, and they're all on different bikes, and like that robot know. I don't know. They know everything. They know exactly probably how far you can twist the throttle before it. Dude, spits you off, like all that stuff.
All of the data that the bike's getting, they could be getting.
Yeah. Or even using the robot to tell us, like, look what you could do.
That for sure.
Yeah.
Because think about like you've got obviously hundreds of sensors on the bike, like tire temp, exhaust, like you've got all of these different sensors that are going on. Suspension.
Yeah.
You guys are electronic suspension.
It's speaking to the robot as it's doing it. Like
literally. So it's like actually getting the data.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that you've got to feel through your hands and feel through your feet and just like genuinely intuit.
Yeah.
This thing is just like fed straight in.
Yeah.
You could
no more buttons on the bikes and GP, nothing. It's just all straight.
Imagine the lap time, dude.
Oh, yeah.
That would be insanely cool. That's happening for sure. But I think like that doesn't, at least for me, that doesn't. I'm not going to watch that as like a series.
Yeah.
That would be the dream magazine shootout.
Yeah, because then it's just proven like, we have the best bike.
This is the best bike.
Or like for us, like Super Sport class now is like this, they call it next gen Super Sport. So it's like the V2 has to get detuned to race in that class. Like it only opens the throttle to like whatever they decide, like 84% to be fair to race against this bike, whatever.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, okay, if I'm on that bike, and this isn't MotoAmerica really, this is like FIM, I think, or whoever's in control of it. It's like, if I'm on that bike and I'm a better rider than this guy on that bike, then why is it fair that you're taking away from me because I'm better than what if he was the one that was the guinea pig and then you made the rules for that guy on the bike? Yeah. Then I'm a better rider. Like just because I won the race by 5 seconds doesn't mean it was just because my bike is better. things like that. Like, but you could put that robot on the bike, test every bike until he's doing the same lap time on those bikes. Then you know the perfect answer.
Dude, that actually would make racing better. Like, even think about that in F1.
Yeah.
You know, to where it's like you could still, but is that part of what we love about racing? Is that it is a mix between man and machine.
Yeah.
Like, you've got an amazing car and then an amazing driver that can drive that car, or you've got a car that's not that good, but you've just got this genius. I mean, like
man versus machine would be cool.
In what?
Like a movie or something. Like,
yeah.
That situation, like the world's, electronics taking over and robots are starting to do things, but then there's this guy that it's obviously not like boxing where the robot's going to kill the guy, but like they're racing and like, the robot can do a perfect lap, but can the guy do the perfect lap? Like that'd be kind of cool.
That would be a sick movie.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get to that in like a real life where, that would be a way if you could control the series in a sense, but still like let the manufacturers cook.
Yeah.
And then they're just like kind of bringing the level of the bike back down.
Yeah.
But I mean, there also is like, obviously Red Bull didn't have the best car this year in Formula One, but they won because they clearly had the best driver. Yeah. Max Verstappen was the man.
Which in F1, I don't watch a lot of F1, but I feel like in F1, it's like not, a lot of people don't always think it's like about the driver. It's just like, what is the best car? Like, I don't know. That's how I feel, at least. Same as GP.
Sure.
Like, it was cool. Like in GP for a while, there was, now Ducati's just dominating in GP. But like, I remember, I don't know what year it was, but like when like Crutchlow and those guys were like starting to get on the podium in GP or fight for wins on like the satellite Tech 3 or LCR, and you're like, whoa, like, this is cool. When's the last time somebody did that? Like, I think that's so cool in sports when that happens.
Well,
so it's
Casey on the Ducati in 2007.
Yeah. Like nobody had really done it. Well, Capirossi had won a couple of years, or at least a race or something, him and Bayless, but nobody was competitive in the championship, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I'm so bad with remembering things.
I feel like Sete said something about like really knowing that bike was going to be good that year based on like all of the testing.
Mm-hmm.
And then something happened to where like that's the year he was like, I'm out. He didn't get to ride that bike. And then Casey got on it. But I mean, historically that bike had never won a championship. And this freak of nature alien got on it and found a way to extract performance from this bike and went on to win maybe one of the gnarliest championships in GP history.
Yeah. That's I wish I had a better memory of all that stuff. But also like in racing, it's like, I don't know if Supercross guys are like this, but it's like you just get so, for a while I fought it, but I was like against, like I'm a fan of racing, but I've been around it so much my whole life that I don't pay as much attention as I wish I did, or like I have friends that pay attention to it a lot. And I'm like, why don't I care that much? But this is my world. Like I love it so much.
I understand that. That makes sense
weird
to me. No, it makes sense.
I really wish I wasn't like that because I do love it, but I don't know. I think deep down it doesn't make me happy. Like golf, I've started golfing a whole lot lately, and it's the only thing I've ever done in my life that I wasn't good at, and that not the only thing I wasn't good at, but the end of the story you'll see.
Yeah.
That I wasn't good at, and I really wanted to try to get good at it. And it's like I finally see that addiction that like my friends have to like riding bikes or something.
Yep.
Like I'm putting all my money into it. I'm putting all my time into it. I'm too much time, like things like that. Like, so I've been jealous of that with my friends with racing for a long time, but now I'm just realizing lately. And when I had my son, it changed. I started thinking differently, but that's just, it's my job, and I love racing, and I will continue to like do it with my son, but it's my job. Like, no matter, they say, don't ever let what do they say? Don't ever let it become a job, like that type of thing. It's impossible.
No, and there's a certain level of commitment you have to have to it. There's a certain level of focus. There's a certain level of attention, and that just can't be maintained through everything. And I mean, even Supercross kind of is my job in a way. Or like once the series gets going and once we really get rolling, like I've really got to invest in that in a certain type of way to where I just want to go do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like I don't really, like I love it and I care, but I kind of have to professionally care.
Yeah.
And there is a difference when you have to like professionally care about something.
You know, when like your buddies are like, oh, let's go do this. And you're like, yeah. And you're like, why did I do this? I don't want to be at the track right now, like at all. But I don't want to be the guy who's like, I remember Scott Redding one time, like he was in California and I'm like, hey, let's go ride. Because at the time, like we were both like, even in GP, no one was, social media wasn't that big. And like me and him were the ones that were like standing out like in America and then in the world scene. And I was like, this would be cool, like us riding together. Like I just pictured all this stuff like for social media and thought it would be fun. He's like, oh, like no offense, but I just, when I'm not racing, like I don't want to think about it. And I was like, this is so weird. But then I realized that I was just cheating myself. Like I wasn't being honest with myself. And that is what I want. I want this separation.
Yeah.
So I think it just kind of goes with like Formula One. Like Supercross has been the only thing that I can actually like watch. But there's so many of the races that I really like it for like the first 6 rounds and then I kind of fall off.
Yeah.
But that's like the only sport besides baseball that I really care about like at the beginning of the year. And I'm the same way with baseball, I guess. I watch at the beginning and then I watch at the end. Kind of like a NASCAR race.
Yeah. No, it just makes sense. Like there's just a certain amount of effort I think you have to put in to like do a job properly. And like it's funny, like even with the guys that would like work, when they started working for me, they're like, oh, well, you know, I want to go like, I actually had a guy that he didn't work. He like stayed here for a few months and he's like, oh, well, you know, I want to be able to like go and film and here. And I'm like, dude, if you're doing your job properly, you won't want to go film on the weekends.
Yeah.
Like if you're actually really investing in this the way that I need you to invest in this to be successful, you will want a weekend without touching a camera.
Yeah.
Like that's how this should work. And I think that's kind of what you're feeling. Like you're obviously invested in it enough to where it's like, okay, I've done the thing. Now I need to have some hands off the wheel.
Yeah. And I like, for the sake of it being my job, and if you're winning, yeah, it's really fun. But like I will always, I think for a long time at least, I'll want to keep going and racing. But I'm like thinking about all the other stuff more now. Like I really like the idea of like being a manager or something, like because I've had really bad experiences with managers and I think it would be really cool to like help people like that as a way to stay involved and still have fun with it to where, but yeah, just being at the track, like to me is just, I don't know, it's other people enjoy it and yeah, like what we talked about. So it's a strange thing because I've been around it now for, I mean, since I was born, I was at the racetrack, but I've been racing since 1996 or something. So it's like,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Almost 30 years of racing a motorcycle, like at a high level, not just like going. Like since I was 6, you're just like, we're going. Like my dad's like, if we're going, we're going. And he was never like, he was always great about that stuff. Like I wanted to quit for a year and he let me, but yeah, 30 years straight, you're just like, that's all I wake up thinking about is just like racing.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah.
What do you make of the whole KTM thing? Have you been following it?
I mean, a little bit. I don't know. I bought some KTM stock like the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like I never had done stocks, and I'm like, I put like $5,000 into Amazon. That was like my aunt and uncle talked to me, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do this. And then I had like whatever $200 left over. I'm like, oh, I'll just buy KTM shares, like just whatever. Like, cause I don't know what to think about the whole thing. I don't like talk to a bunch of people, I guess, like about racing or the industry. Like only when we're at the track really do I, or if we're doing something like this. So I don't know like all the stuff that I could know, I guess, if I was interested enough to ask a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wish that I did talk to more people so I knew when you ask things like this. But it's interesting, like seeing headlines like KTM to not like continue developing the bike, and then reading the rumors about Pedro Acosta like going to Ducati, like that kind of stuff. That's wild to me. Is like, whoa, like he's like legit gonna potentially, who knows, it could be totally fake news, but get out of a contract to go do this just because if you're not developing the bike, like there's no way we're gonna win, and I'm here to win. You know, I'm not like Fabio Quartararo, like, you know, being on a bike, he's dedicated to Yamaha to like develop that thing. Like to me, like if I'm racing, like, shoot, I want to win. I don't
Especially
care what.
if you know the bike's not the bike right now, then it's like, okay, if this doesn't develop, it can't win.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, at some point it's not the money side of things. Like, I just want to win. Like, I don't know. You're like so into being a racer your whole life. Like, that's all you know. You don't know, like, when you finish second, it's like you're numb to it. You don't even, I don't know. I'm not a poor sport or anything, but like I'm only having fun if I'm winning, or I had a great battle, and then it's cool. But the KTM thing, I don't know. I don't really know what to think because from the outside looking in, you would think that they're like
Killing
the
it.
best. Yeah. Like if I'm gonna go right now, if I was to buy a dirt bike, that's what I would go buy, and that's what I see everybody else being into. Like I've wanted like a dual sport for a long time, and that's what I would have got.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
How big's their presence in MotoAmerica team wise?
There's last year Chris Fillmore, Chris Fillmore?
Yeah.
So he used to road race, and so this year he did the same round that Anthony did, Sensato.
Yeah.
I always say his name wrong. Sensato?
Now you're making me question it. Sensato.
But they did Mid-Ohio, so he did I think
that's right.
KTM helped, they did a project together to do one race, but that's about it.
So
Kramer,
it won't make a big impact on the MotoAmerica stuff.
No. I think the Kramer, do you know about the Kramer stuff? So there's a manufacturer called Kramer. They build the chassis. I think there's KTM engines in those bikes, and that's the new Junior Cup class. So they'll be I guess kind of involved in that. I don't really know. There used to be a KTM factory team, but I had always heard that whoever was running KTM back then didn't want to make street bikes. They're too dangerous or something. And so they haven't been involved that much unless it was on the smaller bike stuff with Junior Cup. But with that class going away now and going to these Kramer bikes, you can't even race a KTM 390 anymore.
Yeah, so are they the same as there is a bike that is it's a KTM 450 motor.
Yeah.
And then it's in the chassis. That's the one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they built a new one. I don't know if it was specifically for the MotoAmerica class that they're doing now, but it's some type of feeder like a Red Bull Rookies Cup. It's everybody's on the same bikes and yeah.
Yeah, right. It'll be crazy if they do go away because think about the hole that leaves in the sport. Across all of racing, you know. Second best team in MotoGP, probably. They're probably the closest team that could do something. And if you look at the climb that they've been on over the last few years, it's gonna suck if they do go away.
It's just so weird to me to think that it's like I said, I don't know anything about the situation.
Oh, they fumbled the bag.
Just seems fishy to me though. Something's it's just how do you that go that bad or
I just think they just took on way too much debt.
Really?
Yeah. I just think that they took on a lot of debt and aren't selling enough motorcycles. So if you're just not selling that many bikes, which means you're not making that much money, which means you can't service your debt. And I just think that they overcapitalized. Someone said they poured $100 million into the whole mountain bike thing.
Really?
Why the fuck why do we need Husky and KTM and gas mountain bikes?
Yeah, but I don't understand the e-bike thing anyways. I know people have fun on them, but
Dude,
it's
I love this.
You do?
Bro,
You're my friends.
The biggest e-bike guy.
I have a little electric 110.
Yeah.
And I love
is
that.
Is it the Granger?
Yeah.
Dude, they're the best.
Yeah.
They're unreal, eh?
Yeah, so fun. But the electric mountain bike, I never have. Every time I ride
what
one,
don't you get?
I don't know. It feels so weird for me to ride. I just don't have fun on it. It's just
going up or down. You don't have fun.
Oh well, down. It's that. I'm sure that my buddies, they basically use it to just get up the hill as fast as they can, like a ski lift, and then just go down.
Yeah, that's.
I just like bicycles for the climb. I just love climbing.
Well, I did a ride yesterday. I did 26 Ks.
Yeah.
I don't know how many miles it is, but it's like a half marathon.
Yeah.
On a running marathon, and it took me I don't know 2 hours. I spent 30 minutes in zone 5, 30 minutes in zone 4, and then the rest of the time in zone 2.
It's a scam.
I was fucking pumping, bro. But I did so much down.
It's fake. It's lying to you.
I was wearing the strap, bro.
You know how it is. There's so many people that hate it, and there's so many people that love it.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I just love bicycles for the grind and
suffer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I just think of it as cheating in a way. I'm maybe it's because I'm so mad sometimes that I'm climbing and I'm oh my God, I've done 7,000 feet and this guy's hey, what's up?
Yeah, but to me it's I'm a down. I just want to go down.
Yeah.
I want to send it and I'm that's fun to me.
Yeah.
But then I'm also just sending it up. I was smoked yesterday after.
You know what's scary though is when you're going up that fast and then coming down. I mean, how fast are you going on a mountain bike downhill? 20 to 30 miles an hour or something. Especially, let's just say a fire road. So you're thinking of
We're
single
doing
track
like
stuff.
the single tracks, yeah.
Like
And
what's scary.
but they're like where I ride at least. It's all like this is a down, that's an up.
Like Skyline, like going up Skyline, like you'll be climbing on an e-bike going 15 miles an hour, and then guys coming down at 30, and like it's so hard to react to the guy that's climbing fast when I'm going downhill. But I don't know. It's I'm not. I guess I shouldn't hate on it. It is cool. My friends have a ton of fun. It gets people out on bikes that wouldn't get out on bikes. It's just easy to hate on it, I guess, when you're suffering.
Yeah. No, I just think like just suffer in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, and then they've all got modes to where it's like, dude, on the fuck, I never do
It's like
eco.
a dirt bike.
Yeah, bro, I never do eco. That shit would smoke me. Like, I wouldn't be able to ride.
They're heavy, right?
Because you've got like the heavy, so you get an assistance, but it's a heavier bike.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like I just don't have that much time. Like I work a lot and I put a lot of effort into work. So it's like I'll work until 3. Yeah, right now it gets dark at like 5.
Yeah.
So then I'm like leaving. I'm lucky I can ride straight out of my house, but I just want to, and then I've got to ride. It's a gnarly climb to get all the way up because I got to ride from the beach to like this big water tower basically. Mm-hmm. So it's like that. If I just had to do that every time I rode, that would kill my ride to start with.
Yeah.
But it's like I just want to get up. I want to do as much downhill as I can with the boys, and I still get a good workout, and I'm done it in an hour. Like an hour and a half. You couldn't cover that much ground in that shorter period of time, So I think it's like, at least for me, I'm just condensing everything.
It does help, yeah. It's my buddy they own a car shop, so they would, go in pretty early to work, and we'd go for like 6 a.m. rides, and he goes like basically like almost 2,500 feet up and back down to his house in like an hour, less than an hour. So it's it's cool.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, that. From what I heard, that was one of the big problems that KTM had is like just going into, it's just like they just bit off way more than they could chew, which is crazy because it feels like there was a shift in KTM a few years ago where, because I've always like kind of done something with them. Like they've never really paid me for anything, but like just always been around, like especially the people in Australia. I knew them really well. I know the people here, like I've dealt with Austria. But there was like a switch where it felt like the company got ran by accountants. And then that's when they fucked it up. So it's like, how do the numbers people fuck up the numbers? And then like the moto fans and the moto people, like they kind of did a pretty good job with it. So I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. But I mean,
I hope nothing.
Imagine if they lose Pedro Acosta.
Yeah.
They lose Chase Sexton. Like the rebuilding process.
Maybe it's like a perfect timing. Like maybe they'll lose Chase Sexton, then he'll go to Ducati when they come over here. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be sick.
But I hope they don't go anywhere though. I mean, because that's such a, I don't know. I've always loved everything that they do. So, and it's cool watching them in GP be competitive. It's more brands is better for everybody.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And how many jobs would be gone? Holy cow!
Yeah, jobs, riders, teams, just. Yeah, it would just be like a black hole that would just get sucked out of the sport,
Yeah.
How much do you follow the GP stuff?
I mean, I like pretty much like I watch every weekend.
Yeah.
I don't wake up and watch it live unless I just have like a really bad itch to do it. But I watch every race, but not like, I don't watch qualifying and practice. My absolute favorite thing about motorsports is watching like lap 1 of practice, like of any sport. Like I like to just see like how fast they can hit all the jumps in Supercross. I almost wish they didn't have press day the day before just to see what it's like when someone just like, I love going to A1 and seeing like the first practice just live and in person. Like I think that's so cool. So GP, like I'll usually watch FP1 and then maybe qualifying sometimes, but I'll watch the sprint and the main race.
What do you make of where that sport's at? As a fan and as a rider that kind of understands the level. Yeah,
I mean, to me, being part of Ducati, it's sick seeing them just dominate. But as a fan, you want to see other brands in there, right? But the level that they're at is insane, like for sure. I mean, I like that Jorge Martin won this year. Like,
yeah, same.
Like he's on Ducati, like so. I don't have favorites in any sport really. I like everybody and. Not everyone, but I get to meet a lot of them, so it's you get yourself I'm sure you're the same way. You can't be like, yeah, that guy's my favorite, because then other people start hating on you, or you just feel awkward when you see the other guy. I actually thought about it today. I called my friend John. He listens to all your stuff, and I'm like, what do I do if you like ask who my favorite Supercross rider is? I'm like, I don't want to like piss anybody off because they all watch it. I'm like,
yeah.
But
who is your favorite Supercross?
I'll say this, and he had a good idea, which it was honest about. Like, I love watching. Dean Wilson's always been someone I love watching.
That's a real great favorite rider.
Yeah, like he just, I feel like I have like I watch him and I just think a lot of things are the same with me and him.
Yeah.
And I've listened to him do podcasts and talk about things that I like to talk about, and but yeah, I just look up to all of them for not only like just how good they are on a dirt bike, but how most of them are like so dedicated to training. But yeah, GP I love. I mean, I think I like all of what it is right now. I think they're doing a good thing. I hope that the Formula One thing doesn't like make it weird somehow.
I think it'll only make it better.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah. I mean, I just know a bunch of the people at Liberty. Mm-hmm. And they're just fucking unreal.
Yeah, that would be good if it takes it in a positive direction. And
it only can. Like, I honestly think so.
I just hope, like, I know MotoGP like tried to do that Drive to Survive. I don't know if you watched it, but it just wasn't the same. Like, I want to see people, like, all of these sports need to allow the athletes to be who they are, because a lot of them like try to be somebody that they're not because they can't be who they are, because then they're going to piss somebody off, which I've been in that boat before too. But then when it's even bigger and there's more cameras on you all the time, it's got to be super hard. And you cannot ride at the level that you should ride at unless you can be yourself. Mm-hmm. And I've found that out, because when I signed my deal with this team I'm on now, it's like, you have to let me be me or I'm not riding on this team. Like, that's what I need. I need to be able to say what I want. I need to be able to ride on the street how I want. And at first it was like, yeah, we're 100% on, but then it started pulling the reins back a little bit. But then you win, so you feel like, okay, I can do a little bit more of what I want. But us, motorsport, where like you can just be you, smoke a pack of cigarettes if you want on the side of the track when the bike breaks, or whatever you're gonna do, go out partying or have a wife and kids, like whatever route you like, what your life is, like I just hope that they allow that, because that's what will really make the sport get big. That's why Drive to Survive helped F1, is because it made it to where my neighbor's wife is a huge F1 fan, because there was people that she could actually follow and like, because they were allowed to cuss and just get mad at other drivers and say it. Like, if I come in and say something, I get in trouble. Like, somebody's mad at me. Like, just can't be yourselves.
Well, you know what it was, is Netflix were the ones that had the edit rights. So
there was no making sure they were okay with it.
Bro.
I'm sure people got in trouble then, but they just
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I don't know if I could say all of the things that I know about that. But yeah, they just got to do what they wanted to do. And it was the COVID year, and like they were just in all of the people that filmed it were like in team clothing. And they were just kind of like put in the team. Like, it was gnarly, bro.
So you didn't even really know sometimes, or?
And then they didn't, like, Netflix, like, okay, we have the edit rights. And that's why you would see like Max Verstappen push back. Like, you saw a lot of pushback on the series from certain people. Certain people liked it, certain people didn't like it. But I guarantee you, if Liberty got, I think Liberty gets it.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it went the way that it went.
A lot of motorsports, like, it's older.
That's so fucking scared, dude. Yeah. Like, I see it with Feld.
Yeah.
Feld is so scared. I wish I actually started like kind of telling a story with Hill the other day, and then we just got sidetracked. But there was like a thing at the press conference, and then I knew they were pissed at what got said. It was just about 31 races being too much.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that if they could have told me not to post that, or if it wasn't live, like, they would have liked that not to be in there. And I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
It's literally the rider's opinion. Their opinion was on the too many races, like, oh, well, if we shorten our series, you just go and do off-season races. Perfectly valid point.
Yeah.
Present both sides of the story and let people make up their minds. And it's good.
Yeah.
If you think it's too many races and you're like passionate about it, good. If you think like, well, what the fuck are we doing here, because they're only gonna they're only going to go do off-season race, which they all did, all of them.
Yeah.
Chase Sexton was the only dude. There was Tomac, Jet, and Eli that were on the podium that were in the press conference. Tomac went and raced a whole nother series, and Jet raced 2 massive off-season races.
Yeah.
One of them, his bike got completely destroyed. He couldn't even finish the
Make
event.
good money going to do those things, though, don't they?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And that's the real reason.
Yeah.
You know, but again, they wanted to they didn't really want that spoken about. They didn't want that narrative out there. And it's just like, just let it be.
Yeah. I really wish that's it sucks whenever you can't talk about things or say things because, yeah, someone's always going to be mad. But when you're in a sport that like ours where it's like, I don't know, it's not like you can just go to a different place. They're all going to be like, no, we're afraid you're going to say something or do what you did on that team or whatever. Yeah. It's cool because MotoAmerica, maybe because it's a little smaller, they're cool and like listen to what we have to say and like, yeah, they're pretty open about all that kind of stuff, which is neat.
And they know the position that they're in as a sport.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to get there.
Yeah.
You have, in MotoGP, for instance, it's like they're the pinnacle, they're the peak. Dorna's probably making hundreds of millions of euros a year.
Yeah.
Like, why rock the boat?
Yeah.
Why upset the apple cart when you don't need to, But I'm sure that Amazon series that they did, Dorna would have had approval over everything.
Yeah.
And it's the same as like, dude, the MXGPs, right? I didn't even go to the MXGP. Hurlings came on the podcast, blasted the series. And then when I did want to go, I was like, oh, can I get a media credential? Just, it helps my visa out, basically, to be here. And then they were like, oh, are you going to say this? And we didn't like this. And I was just like, guys,
yeah,
I can talk shit on you from anywhere if that's what I want to do. Like, I don't need to come. And then I'll just buy a ticket. And then if you don't want me to come to the race, I'll just watch it on TV. Like, honestly, not a big deal. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
But they were so butthurt about one of their riders legitimately making complaints about, like, he was expressing his feelings. And it's like, is he right? Is he wrong? That's not up for me to decide, but it's like, it's how he feels.
Yeah.
So I can definitely listen to how the guy feels. It's that whole controlling of the narrative. It never works, and it never lets things grow.
Yeah. Yeah, right now, one of the things that I think probably a lot of series are like trying to figure out, but I know MotoAmerica is trying to figure out is like what to do with like how to control the content that's filmed and all that stuff. I know you guys have a lot of problems with that, like who can film on-track footage and not.
Yeah.
And I do understand that because they're putting in a lot of money and all this stuff, but that's like one of the really difficult things. It isn't even so much like what we can say, but now it's like, okay, they might own all of the footage and you can't even, like, that's how I make half my living is content. And I think that's hard because, like, if you take the content away, then you take away the possibility of getting however many millions of views that the athletes can get from it or whatever. So all that stuff is very strange, and it's getting worse.
So what's their current stance on it?
Right now, they've been pretty open with it. Like, yeah, I'm trying to think of like the safe way to say things without, I don't want to ruffle feathers, but they've been very nice about like us making content, but they're starting to realize that like the more views it gets, obviously they want people to go on like MotoAmerica Live Plus, which is their app, and buy like the access like you would on MotoGP.com. And, I think that they're trying to figure out the best way for everybody. But like I said, with them being how they are, they're really cool about like listening, and we can call and just directly talk to them, where I doubt even Sexton could probably, I don't know how it is with Fell, but can you just call like the head people?
I mean, to a certain, like you can get a certain way up, I'd say.
But then that guy's still got to ask that guy.
Yeah.
Like I can just
I don't
call
think
the owner.
there's many people calling Kenneth Feld.
Yeah. Like I can just call Wayne
He's like
Rainey.
an 80-year-old dude.
Yeah. Richard Varner. And I could just say like, hey, like I really think this. And they'll listen. And obviously
that's awesome.
It's a business, but
yeah.
That's what's really cool about MotoAmerica is that they are, I think, because Wayne Rainey was a racer, he wants the best for the racers and understands the situation that we're in. And
those guys don't have to do that.
Yeah, no.
Like they definitely don't have to buy that series and like put the effort in. I don't know too much about MotoAmerica and like the inner workings of it, but I definitely know those dudes don't need to do that.
No.
It's like Ricky Carmichael commenting Supercross. Like he gets so much hate, But it's like, hey, he's the fucking best of all time. He's literally the undisputed GOAT. And he's like giving his time. He's traveling 30 weekends of the year for this sport when he doesn't have to. Yeah. He's fucking filthy rich.
Yeah, he's probably not getting paid as much as people think he is.
Dude, he would be getting paid peanuts compared to like the effort that has to go into it. So it's like,
when commentating stuff's hard too.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of behind the scenes people don't know about. Like Roger Hayden does it now, and I just know like just all of our announcers, like they got to get there early, they got to call all the races, they got to all this.
They're in probably 5 meetings a week to do it. But the point is like that there's certain people that don't need to do the thing, and if they're putting their time and effort there, you can just tell they're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. Imagine if there was like if Carmichael wasn't there getting the knowledge that he puts out, because people that don't know anything about the sport, it's good to have the regular announcers, but guys that are fans of the sport, like it's cool for us to get to hear what Carmichael's perspective is on stuff. And this guy might be like, oh man, he just dive bombed or whatever, block pass that guy, was aggressive, but then Carmichael might be like, no, like that was a good pass, like stuff like that. Like yeah
no, I completely agree. And I think it is a bit of a hard line that MotoAmerica or Feld has to walk, because like, I mean, even for us, like we go to the races and we have passes and we can film and like we can kind of do what we want to do to like make our product that we make.
Yeah.
But I try very hard to just like stick in that box. Like we make shit that's like for our show. You just can't let everybody come and film. Like, oh, I've got a sick Instagram and I make these dope edits and I make edits for like, okay, no, sorry. Like, if you can snipe it from outside the fence.
It's helping them more than it's helping you, for sure. Like the guy with the Instagram gets way more out of it than the sport does.
They get nothing, literally nothing out of it.
Everybody that follows you follows us already. So
yes. So there is like a balance. But then, like with like our YouTube channel has probably got more views than what the Supercross YouTube channel gets in a year. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's a different business model. Ours should, but it's like, I think there is real value in having certain people there.
Yeah.
MotoAmerica, real value in letting, just like, we should just let Herrin cook. Like he's got his own thing going on. It's like reaching all these people. Let him cook. And then they should be pushing back. If it's TV rights, if it's whatever, be like, hey, no, sorry, this guy needs to do this thing. Because the thing that I always say to all these people, and I say it to Feld, I say it to everyone, the internet is undefeated.
Yeah.
If you put something out on the internet, if it's on your free streaming app, if it's on some dude on some Instagram is downloading that footage and putting it on his own House of Highlights type video. So it's like, if you're going to stop legitimate people like yourself, and I'm sure there's more examples in MotoAmerica that I have no idea about, but if you're going to stop those people because you can exercise control over them, then you're just losing to the internet anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's definitely a push and pull. I know people that get super pissed off that they're not allowed to film at Supercross. And it's like, dude, you're great. Your footage is great. They just don't need you.
Yeah.
Like you're not adding to the thing. And I get it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But then I have also seen where it's like they try and control certain people because they can't control everyone else. So it's like they want to control the people that they can. And it's like, you're just going to lose the battle to the internet every single day of the week.
Yeah,
so
100%.
That's like, I get what you're saying. You don't want to offend anyone, but I think like that's the way to say it in a sense.
But also like, I don't know, like there's people that'll argue this like to the death, but the TV stuff to me now, like I can't remember the last time that I like watched, like I have YouTube TV, but I don't even go on it. Like, I don't know. Like I don't watch anything on it. I don't even know why I have it. The only reason I have it is because I have FOMO of like, if maybe there's something that I can't see on someone else, I just want to have it. And it's just, whatever. But like the TV stuff, I feel like a lot of these maybe smaller motorsports, they focus so much on having TV versus like, why not just go full YouTube or full like just,
I completely agree.
Just get it to the masses. Like imagine how big Supercross would be if every race was just YouTube all the time. Like there'd be so many people watching. And the TV stuff, it's like it's just because certain sponsors still have that old mindset and they think we need to be on TV, so they won't be involved unless your sport's on TV. But it's like, I just think it's a big waste of money.
So how does MotoAmerica work now? It's just behind a paywall?
So they have the MotoAmerica Live Plus app, and then we're on like Mav TV, I think like Fox Sports sometimes, like, but it switches a lot because it's very hard, I think, to like,
yeah,
the money, like where's the money come from to like make it happen. So
I'd
it's
love to know the
changing.
numbers, like what they actually do on that plus.
Yeah, they have like their media kit I could send to you, but it's
probably no point. Like the money that they make, it's where like you'd have to have this conversation of, okay, long term, do we do like 3 years of full blown YouTube, just sending it
yeah,
on YouTube?
that's what I would do if I was them.
I mean, I would too, depending on how much money they make. But I think like I can't see them making enough money off that to handicap the viewers of their. That would be like me putting this podcast behind a paywall.
Yeah.
Like, would I probably have like, could I make 20 grand a month of people that like hardcore fans that like would watch this? Possibly. But it's like, is it worth making that 20 grand a month now versus letting the algorithm, like I said,
Just explode.
this is the whole thing people don't understand is like, if you're putting shit on YouTube and you're monetized, YouTube is your business partner.
Yeah.
And your business partner, it's in their best interest to work with you, not
Yeah.
against you. People think they have like this weird thing around the algorithm.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, the algorithm is trying to give people content they want to
Yeah.
watch. So it's like,
Because I run out all the time.
Yeah,
So they want more.
yeah. So to take your series, I wonder, I just wonder what the numbers are, but I just think that it is so much more worthwhile to just go all in on YouTube, have a team that like really knows what they're doing, do all of the best practice and be posting content every single day, like
Yeah.
feed the machine and you will blow it up. And then I think Supercross couldn't do it. They get paid like $7 or $8 million a year off
Just to be on
off
that.
Peacock.
Yeah. Like
So
that's when it works.
That's when it's like,
But if you were to like MotoAmerica's YouTube actually is like does really well.
yeah,
Like really well. Like I'll see some races on there. I'm like, wow, like that's, and I know YouTube, like, you know, it's, if you get a video that does well on there, it goes very far. Like that video I was telling you about, like it was just like a XSR 900 I rode in the canyons, and it was nothing special. It was just a cool sound and riding in the canyon, and it has like 1 million views, which is good on YouTube. And I've had so many people come up and tell me, like, there's one guy that was telling me he plays it every Sunday. He's like, I watch the video every Sunday and then I go out and ride.
that's so sick.
I'm like, that's cool. Because then that's like the whole reason why I got into street riding was like Axel Hodges was like a really big motivation for me to like kind of be like that. I'm like, there is no guy that can throw down on the track, but also is like a freestyle guy / like a free riding guy, like in road racing. Like I'm like arguably like whatever top 5 in the country of road racing, and then also go and ride with all the street guys and the street squids, like whatever, and then do wheelies and like do all this stuff. Like nobody's doing that. So I took him as kind of like a business model in a way and was like trying to do that. But manufacturers or sponsors don't like that because it's on the street and they don't like seeing that. But that's like the perfect example of it. You know, it's, and if they just took their content and just, if MotoAmerica was like full YouTube and just exploded, then people like Peacock would probably want to be like, hey, you're getting millions of views on your series. Like, we want to do this.
And then you've got a bit more leverage to keep doing that thing as well. You don't have to like give everything away. Like if you've kind of already got that ball rolling, you can then just be like, okay, cool, we'll do the deal, $1 million a year, but we've got this YouTube audience, we've got it's just so much leverage, I think, in this kind of like modern content world.
Yeah, I would be so pumped if they just went full YouTube, because I think it would just make the sport do so much better. Honestly, like, because they kind of like trickle it in sometimes. They're like, okay, this race is going to be on YouTube, but then the next one's not. So it's like inconsistent.
Yeah, which you have to have consistency.
Yeah, it still does well, but I just can see like, okay, that race got 600,000 views. Like, you don't see like this growth. There isn't 600,000 people that come to our races. So obviously there's people that are interested in this. Like, it's there. They do a great job running the series. They do a great job doing everything. But I think this is just something that they're scared to commit to because they don't know, right? How do you know? Like, is this a good idea? Is it not? Like, are all these fans going to stop watching if we're not on TV? But I really think that it'll just get huge if they were, because like COVID year, they did a lot of YouTube stuff, I think. And it's just nuts. Like, we were one of the only motorsports that were racing at the time. And it grew a lot because of that. And yeah, I mean, you know how powerful YouTube is. So
yeah, I think do you think the baggers have a pretty positive effect on the series as well?
Yeah, I think a lot of like the hardcore racers, like, you know, or
Hate
like
on it,
people,
yeah.
they hate on it, but I think it's good. I mean, it's different, and it's the American fan base.
True,
right? Like, one thing, I think it's another fear thing, or another, like, they have this idea in their head that we need to be like grooming riders to go to GP. I just don't see the importance in that. Like, if the rider's good enough and he has the talent, he'll go. But I think what they need to focus on more that would be better is if we just focus on giving American fans what they want to grow the sport, and not using World Superbike or GP as a model. Like, American sports do really well. You know, MotoGP does well, but let's make MotoAmerica American and see what happens. Like, let's see how many of these people from all over these different sports start watching, because you do something entertaining and different, kind of like King of the Baggers. Like, that's, to me, is so different, and they've done a really good job with that. But if they changed it up with the road racing side of things and just made the racing really good by taking, like, even if they just were like, hey, we're going to take a risk and do like less of a superbike so that more people could afford it and race, and the racing's super good, and we could have 20 top riders instead of 10 top riders, like things like that. But people are worried to try because like, okay, it's working, it's getting better, but kind of just taking the risk, like the baggers, like that exploded. Now even I think GP's doing stuff with them, and
yeah, right.
I don't know what the future is there, but you saw all the legends go and ride it, and like Rispoli and Wyman went over to Barcelona and rode the baggers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's cool. You see a lot of the Harley fans come in, or I'll just be talking about something like road racing. They like don't know much about road racing, but then that gets brought up, and I'm like, okay, you've seen that. Like, that is what got you interested. You haven't seen superbikes, but you've seen the baggers. So now here's my chance to kind of like,
yeah, bridge the gap.
Yeah.
What else would you do if you just had like a magic wand? Let's say like they said to you, they're like, oh, wait, 2025, you just get to cook, go nuts. Like, what you think would be best for this series? Like, what would you do across the board?
I think that the influencers in the street scene are like so big right now. I mean, I don't know if it ever pops up in your feed, like more just random street people, but there's guys that, I mean, they got millions of followers and they're street guys in the US. Like, allow them to be more.
What are some names?
Like, just random stuff. Like, I'm K. Like, there's this guy, like, if you look him up, it's just random names like that, but it's just a guy that'll have, like, I think on YouTube he has 1 million subscribers or something. Those moto vloggers, like, there's a guy, Why Not Ride. He's just a street guy that posts content, and I mean, he's got 500,000 followers. There's a lot of those guys. Like, you know, like Jeff Walker.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Like, he's really good at YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
There's, I don't know, it seems like I just see a lot of potential in the street bike guys that are like that. They're like, they know the content, they know how to make it work, and they're very good at getting people engaged. And we need to use that more, because we have what those guys would like to try. They could come to the race and try a track day, whatever, make them feel special, make them be a part of it somehow. Like, I would do that. I'd put it all on something free to watch, because I know they're investing so much money, and they're, like I said, they're afraid. They think that TV is the answer, but I just think that right now, if you just got it out there and let them do it, so put on YouTube or something like that, YouTube's the most, probably be the best for them. I'd try to cut costs down and not worry so much about like making the bikes the same as World Superbike, to where it's easier for riders to go from here to World Superbike. Because I get what they're doing, but like I said, I think it's more important that we just
but why wouldn't you just want to like keep your talent here and have a way where they can make, like, Spees was great example of that. You know what I mean? He's like, he obviously did end up going overseas, but he was like, I was making so much money and I could drive to every race. I didn't want to be on planes. I didn't want to be flying. I didn't want to be going all over the world. Like, I wanted to be, he's from Texas.
Yeah.
He wanted to be a Texas boy
and
still race his bike.
I think, like, early 2000s, late 90s, all the dudes from Europe wanted to come here. Like, that's what this is, and it's doing. MotoAmerica is doing such a good job of, like, Loris Baz was here, Petrucci was here, Troy Herfoss is here.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
There's
He's actually a good friend of mine.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
I had a guy, man, I feel bad. I forget what his name was, but he wrote me this morning. He's from Australia, races in BSB, maybe in Stock 1000 or something. Like, there's a lot of guys that want to come here. And I just think that we're finally getting back to that, and they need, like, it is good. They're doing a great job. But if we can allow more people to see, like right now, to run a top-level superbike team, one rider, if you already are lucky enough to have a semi and a shop and all that stuff, like if you already have it, it still costs over $1 million to go racing. So will it not be as cool to, like, the hardcore fan? Like, yeah, I get it. You want, like, the unattainable, like, badass bikes. But the racing is still going to be just as... I don't really care about that. Like, every bike I get, I leave it stock.
I don't even know what is on it. Like, I don't even know what's... I mean, the MotoGP... Like, MotoGP, to me, that's what that is.
Yeah.
It's like they're just riding these freak show bikes.
Yeah.
Everything else, it's like, if you're not going to go that far, what does it matter?
I can do my stock... If I took a stock V4R and I just put, like, ergonomics, like bars, the pegs, and then did, like, an exhaust and chain sprocket, like, just minor things like that, I would... And if with the tires, like race tires, I would say that, like, if we're doing a minute 25 at a track, I'd say we could do minute 27s on that bike. And then that would be like, Ducatis are more expensive than other brands. Like a stock V4R is like a $40,000 bike. So you're talking $50,000, you're into this bike. Our race bike is $250,000. So it's like, imagine how much more you could do with that. You got to have two of those bikes. So you're not just talking one bike. Like you're spending $500,000 on two bikes, and then it's just getting destroyed, whatever, 5 times a year or something like that. So I see what they're doing, but I just think to make it huge in America, if we could reduce the costs and then talk 10 wealthy guys into coming and spending $500,000 instead of telling them, yeah, you got to come up with $1.5 million, it'd be a lot easier. Or the longevity of the team that does do that, like the wealthy family or guy that comes in.
Because that's a lot of motorsport teams.
Yeah. So I think that's where they could really, that's what I would try to do. I'd try to make it as cheap as possible, not worry so much. They're worried that people that are racing now might want to not race if they do that rule. But I think that they would benefit more from it if they just let it be a little bit easier to be there, because you're not going to get into it if you have to spend that much money. You're going to be like, I can't compete. Like, that's what's cool about golf, right? Is you can have everything they have.
Yeah.
Or bicycle racing, like you pretty much have what they have.
Yeah.
Like, that's what makes soccer successful or baseball. Like, it's just about the person. So if you limit the bike and make it a lot cheaper so people could do it, then there's gonna be a lot more people that are gonna do it.
Yeah, and the thing with road bikes is that they kind of like look. They all look kind of the same.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not really, like, if you had a really shit F1 car, like, you could tell.
Yeah.
It wouldn't look like the other F1 cars. But I just feel like you've got to be such a hardcore fan to really see what's going. Like, I mean, I would say I know a bit about that
especially
world.
when it's going that fast.
Yeah, when it's on the track. Like, what can you put on that thing that you're like, oh, you're not doing aero, you're not doing all the crazy shit that the MotoGP guys are doing. So it's like, if you're not going to compete with that, then like, why chase that?
Yeah. I just think making racing cheaper is for sure the best way to get people involved and get more. Because imagine, okay, you have let's just say it's $1.5 million budget, and then all of a sudden it turns into a $500,000 budget. Now the athletes can start getting paid more because there's not as much cost involved, things like that. So
maybe the team could turn a profit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's all like logical ideas. And it does seem, like I said before, that the series is on the up.
For sure.
And like I've said this in meetings with Feld and to Davey Coombs. I'm like, bro, we're on a wave. Like, you got to paddle.
Yeah.
Because if you miss the wave, you don't know when the next wave's going to come. Yeah. So it's like you really need to put your head down, paddle like shit, and make sure that you do what you can to catch the wave.
Yeah.
It just, the opportunities don't come around this often.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah. Oh, it's cool. It's cool that it's like going in that direction though, because it just wasn't really a thing at all,
Yeah.
for a
Like
long time.
this year, I made the most money that I made in my whole career. So that to me is like a good sign that, okay, it's getting a lot better.
Yeah.
Because like I said, that whole up until now, like I was getting less than I used to get. So now it's, I think it's going in a really good direction, and they listen and they want the best for the riders, and the fans are happy, it seems like, again. But it did take a while. I mean, MotoAmerica, they had to basically like start it all over on their own. So it took a while, but it's definitely going.
What other sponsors do you have? Are you still doing the OnlyFans sponsorship?
Yeah. So OnlyFans is like my biggest sponsor.
Yeah.
And then you get your helmets. So I wear KYT helmets. I've been Alpine Stars. This was my 10th year in Alpine Stars, like basically leather suit or leathers, boots, gloves.
Yeah.
Good Boy Vodka. So that's like a
sick.
Yeah. So I always try to get like the outside industry stuff.
Yep.
GoPro. So I was with GoPro like 2011, I think, was my first year. And then Moto2, they did like a chin bar on my helmet. And then I didn't work with them. I always just did stuff with them, but I didn't work with, like, it wasn't on my helmet or anything. They did some branding again this year. So that's good to see them wanting
Kinda
to be
getting
involved.
back in, yeah.
Yeah.
They had a few rough years.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm GoPro for life. I mean, that's just been, I don't know. They're the original action sports camera. So them, and then I try to get like some other like random things here and there, like for social media stuff. But I'm starting to realize, and I started to realize it halfway through this year, that if you bite off more than you can chew, especially now, like with social media, like OnlyFans at first was just like, they were happy with the branding on the helmet, and I have to do videos for their platform. It's OFTV. That's like the main focus.
Yeah.
Like I wear the OnlyFans stuff, I post on there, but OFTV is like it's a work safe material. So the guidelines for OFTV are stricter than YouTube. Like I upload a video and I get denied on like half the videos I upload. Like you can't say this, you can't do this, like things like that. The audio levels need to be really like they're very strict on that. So anybody can go on OFTV and just go watch content. It's free. There's no ads. There's none of that. You don't have to have an account to do it. Nothing. So they at first were like just cool with me doing the racing, but now they're getting stricter, and every company is like, hey, you're supposed to do this many posts. You've only done this many, and that's changing very much now, which is cool because it's keeping you on your toes. But it makes it a lot harder now.
It's a lot more work. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now this next year moving forward, it's like, all right, I'm sticking to like my main like 4 or 5, and that's it. I'm not going to get greedy and try to make an extra 30 grand or whatever it is. I just want to stick to these guys, make them really happy, and just try to keep them long term. So that deal, this will be my 4th year with them, and they actually were doing like a full team deal this year, and something happened internally that we couldn't do it, but they approved it, and we're going to do it. So it's really cool to see them spending that money in the sport.
Yeah. I mean, I know that they've just been working forever to try and like reverse the image a little bit, but it's cool the way that they invest in like different athletes and different people. Yeah,
like that's what I thought that they were like trying to get away from what they are known for, but they don't. Like they're like, hey, we're this, and we know that this is what makes us money and whatever, but we also want this,
which is
cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they have over 200 athletes now, so it's crazy. I mean, I like me, Sean Dillon Kelly. We're the only 2 road racers in the U.S., and then they have Logan Carnow. You've had him on here.
Yep.
And then what's the other? There's somebody else that's in Supercross that runs it.
I'm not sure.
He's a privateer.
Yeah.
And
no, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember.
David Poole. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
But then they have like the Moto2 team in Europe, and so those are the only like main road racers that they do stuff with, but they're everywhere. Like somebody sent me, I forget what it is, the app or something that all the like big boxing matches are on.
Yeah.
DAZN or something.
Yeah, yep, DAZN. I think
DAZN, yeah. Like they had commercials on during like the Tyson Fury fight with us on there. So like it's cool that they're like in a way almost like a Red Bull where they're pushing us out. It's not like, hey, we're just going to give you money. Like they're using us for a bunch of stuff and getting us like to have MotoAmerica on during a Tyson Fury fight is like,
massive.
Yeah. So like that's the stuff I look at where I'm like sick. Like this is cool. I was the first like athlete with them, and now they're like,
were you the
everywhere.
First one?
As far as I know, I was like the first like real athlete that they were doing deals like we're used to, right?
Yeah.
Like Carnow was doing stuff with models on OnlyFans before, and then I'm like 99% sure got my deal before him, but either way, it doesn't matter. But it's cool just starting off where it was, and now it's like they're everywhere. Like they had Olympic athletes this year. So the days of people like hating on it, that's gone. Like the people can't, whatever it is, they're doing really good for a lot of different sports and making athletes make money that they were not able to make. So they're supporting a lot of these sports really well.
Yeah, and I just think over time it's just going to get more like, you know, they will end up being where they want to be.
Yeah.
It's just going to take a lot longer. And it just, fuck, what a crazy company that just almost was like so out of their control.
They are huge.
What they did. Like what happened to them was like just this perfect mix of the adult industry doing what it was doing. Then COVID happened and it was just like, they would have had no idea. Like they would have never been able to predict what happened to them happening.
Yeah.
It's just $1 billion company.
I'm pretty sure that they were like right behind Amazon, like the second highest e-commerce website in the world one year. Like think about that. Like that's nuts.
It is crazy, dude. But yeah, then they're just like, I mean, it's cool though because they could. It again, it goes to show like sort of even what we said about MotoAmerica. It's like there's a group of people that don't have to do anything now.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like they're fine. But for them to be reinvesting and investing in building the thing that they want to build, like you can't not respect that, right?
They have like this series where they pick each year like so many athletes and they follow. There's like 5 or 6 of them, and they sent a camera crew to Laguna Seca. It was like 8 guys or something, and the amount of money that they spent for that was insane. Like I'm talking like top level. Like the cameras that they were using were like guys that I know with Reds and all that stuff. They're like, dude, that camera is insane. I don't know what they're called, but they're like, this is like super way above anything that what we normally see. And then to go to the most expensive race for the travel and send that many guys, like it's cool. And I hope that MotoAmerica sees like that they're putting that much money into it. And then it brings controversy. Yeah. But like people will argue it, but like for some companies it's not, but bad press is good press. Like, I mean, I've had articles put out by a bunch of like, you know, political websites now mentioning my name and MotoAmerica in it because like, oh, should this be allowed? Should it not be? Like, whatever. Like, if you're happy about it, you're mad about it, you're still putting all of us out there. Yeah. Men's Journal did an article on it where it's like 200-mile-an-hour racer Josh Herrin fueled by OnlyFans. Like, it's cool. It's getting the name out there when it wouldn't have been out there because of the controversy. So, whatever. That's how I live my life is like.
Yeah. I just love it. It's funny. Like, you're an example for any MotoAmerica road race. It's like, hey, this dude's a really good example of what happens when you just kind of like don't give a fuck in the right way.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much stuff that people care about that if they just didn't care about and kind of like put their head down and made shit happen, they would end up being successful in the way that you're successful.
Yeah.
There's probably a whole bunch, I'm just guessing, probably a whole bunch of people that complain about what you have and the position that you're in the sport. But it's like, hey, listen to this podcast and figure out why this guy has got what he's got.
And they have, like, if I wanted to, I think I could be a lot better at it. And I consider myself like, I'm not like, I don't think I'm good looking at all. And there's like some good looking guys that can speak well, everything. They have the ability to be way bigger than me. You know, that's just reality. It is what it is. And I do hope that they, like now I think I've gotten to the point where I want them to do it because I realize myself, like, okay, if you do it, like if PJ Jacobson were to be really big on YouTube or social media, and they are trying now, Cam Peterson, Matthew Skoltz, Bobier, like all these guys, we could grow this sport and like make it way better for all of us. So I try now. Before I used to kind of like try to like gatekeep it all, I guess. Not like take anything away from them, but I don't want to share it.
Well, there's a point I guess I'll like play on your side here. I think that there's a point where you feel like it can be taken away from you.
Yeah. And people do take it.
Yeah. And it's not like I kind of felt the same thing with the podcast in a way. Like I know we were like way ahead of our time. And like, I don't do nothing crazy different. I just do what all the other best people do that are like way bigger than what I am. So it's like, I was just the first one to do it in this lane. Yeah, and then there is a feeling where it's like, it's just not quite, like I feel like someone could kind of take this And so I understand that mindset. But then you kind of just get to a point where like, hey, everyone should be doing this.
Yeah.
Like you figure out that there's enough to go around. And if more people do it, then it would only be better for everybody else.
Yeah, 100%. So now I'm, guys that I used to just not talk to about stuff. Now I'm like, dude, you should do this. And like, even like, to me, what's really cool, and this is like, I guarantee that no other racer's ever heard this, and I don't just go and talk about it. Like it may seem like I'm big-headed when I say this, but I hope it doesn't. But like Cam Peterson, Gagne, Baz, like these are all top guys in our sport that have said to me like, hey, if you can help me get deals, like basically like be my manager.
I'll pay you to.
Yeah. Like I'm racing against them and they're saying that. And please don't take that in a negative way. Like
you never get hate from me.
I think, dude, that is so cool to me that I can be in the position to do both those things, like to try to help a racer and I can't commit. I would love to do it, but I'm a dad. I'm a racer. I'm trying to be a good husband. I'm trying to get my own deals. I'm trying to keep up to here with content that I need to put out. So I don't think realistically that I could, but I would love to so much if I could. Like that would be so cool to be able to say like whatever, like, oh, Cam Peterson got this Dove soap deal because of me. Like, because it is there. Like these companies have so much money and they just always do what they know works. But they're willing to try other stuff. Nobody goes to them because they're like, it's like a guy and a girl. Like if you don't go to the really pretty cool girl, like she's never going to just come up to you and talk to you. Like you don't know till you take a chance on something. I think a lot of people just don't take those chances. So yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's honestly cool. Like, and it's just, I definitely get where you're coming from on so much of that stuff.
Yeah.
And again, that's what like drew me into you. Like I had no idea. I didn't follow any MotoAmerica guy. I didn't know fuck all about it until I started following you off doing a really hectic skid on a Panigale V2,
That's awesome, man. Now we got to get you to a race.
I know. Dude, I said it because Anthony, Mid-Ohio.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, you have to come do the Mid-Ohio next year.
That's a good one to go to too.
Yeah, because it's like a whole festival, right?
It used to be huge. Like the Mid-Ohio race, they had Tent City. Like it was
that's what he was saying.
Dude, it was insane. Like when I was 16, I was sneaking away from our RV to just go hang out back there. Like it's like Mardi Gras. Like it's just nuts. And I think now that the race is back there, it'll start getting there. You're used to like a Red Bud or something. Like it's just realistic. Like, right. It's just the truth. We're not at a motocross type thing.
Yeah.
But I've seen it bigger than that before. Like it's there. Like the possibility's there, and MotoAmerica's doing a good job at getting us back there. And if the riders, I've been telling them for this last year, like make it required that these guys post like once a week. Just if you want to race in our series, you have to post once a week about MotoAmerica. Like you have the power to do it. You could make it we have premier teams, like a contract. You could make it mandatory. Like don't take away our video rights, like allow us to do this stuff, but then just say like, all right,
get this
you help us
if you do this.
Yeah.
Like you get video rights to have a filmer and make your own content, but you have to post this with this tag once a week.
Yeah.
Deal. Let's fucking shake hands on it, make the deal.
And I would be stoked. And honestly, it would make me want to promote them even more because then I see that and I already am grateful for the platform that they give me, but they need to be realistic in knowing like, this is also how I make my living, so please don't take it away. And so, yeah, everyone would be happy if we did something like that.
And as well, right, like if you're in F1, cool. Just I'm making 20, 30, 40, 50 million euros a year.
Yeah, you don't care about that stuff.
Just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I'll shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But if you're in a position where you're in MotoAmerica and it's like, hey, boys, I'm not getting paid this year.
Yeah.
The only way I'm coming to race your series is by having some cool shit on my helmet and making some videos. Like, you want me to race? You want these guys? Like, you're in a position in the sport where those guys aren't making that much money. It's not flowing like the golden years. Like, there kind of has to be some give and take, you know? And it's like...
And like I said, I think that they definitely do see that. And it's cool that I can just go sit down with them and talk to them. They're not like some guy I'm afraid to talk to. Like they're very personable, and I can just go and talk to them, and they're nice about it. So it's, I'm sure that a couple people got worried about the video stuff this year because we heard something, but I think that they're working to make it good. So
yeah, what would be the best race to go to?
Like for you or just for anybody? Like
anyone.
I mean, I think
for me and for anyone.
It's so like honestly, I think it's weird. Like all of them now are so good. Like Daytona is fun. It's bike week.
Yeah.
Laguna is cool. You're at the beach. Like they're really cool places, right? Like Wisconsin is super cool. It's a vacation spot up in Wisconsin at a lake.
That track
like,
looks cool too,
yeah,
eh?
yeah, it's fast.
Yeah.
Walls everywhere. Like, it's
Yeah.
fast. Road Atlanta is cool. I mean, they're all really great. If I had to just pick one for my friend, like if someone was like, "Hey, I'm gonna come to one race,"
I want to
where
bring
do I
my
go?
wife. Where do I go?
Probably Laguna Seca. Like Laguna's cool. You're in Monterey. You're on the beach. You got San Francisco right there. Cannery Row is like in downtown Monterey, like right on the water, and all the bikes go there Saturday night. Like it's a good time. So that I'd say Laguna is a great one. I mean, but they're all so good. Austin, like you go to Coda, you're in Austin.
Oh, dude,
like,
yeah, I love Austin.
yeah, they're all fun.
Before we go, A1 predictions.
Oh man,
Deegan's racing west.
I mean, for me, it's I don't want to be this guy.
Nah, pick a winner.
I mean, I'm a Deegan fan. I'm a Jet Lawrence fan. I think those two are really hard to go against. That's who if I was betting, that's who I'd put my money on. But I just want to see good racing.
I think it's safe money.
Yeah.
Dude, we just did 3 hours.
Wow.
We just
That went by
crushed it.
quick.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm stoked. We've honestly been talking about this for a very long time as well.
Yeah, we have.
So
I think last year I got sick, and then one other time I bailed. Maybe I don't know, but
it's just back and it's just how it goes. It's how it goes. No, I never get mad at it. But I'm stoked we finally did it, and fired me up to come to a MotoAmerica race. So.
Yeah, I love it.
You got me into knowing even what it was. So
Sweet. Well, thank you for having me on. I'm honored to be able to come on here. So for anybody that watched up until this point, thank you, and see you at a race hopefully.
appreciate it. Yeah, I'll definitely see you at a race.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.